We are back again. We are on, at least for me, we're on the final 500 miles of the Indianapolis 1200 this week. For Tony, it's the Indianapolis 1000. We're here again with the final leg of this tour of Indianapolis this week. Here for the second annual Sim Racers Edge Indianapolis 500 here, the third to last race of the season. And it is going to be incredible, as we have come to expect with the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series. Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. Alongside me is my broadcast partner, Tony Trapasso. And Tony, we had a lot of fun on Sunday night calling the Major Series Indianapolis 500. You ready to do it again?
Roses are red, violets are blue. You're a masochist, and so am I. I know we're supposed to be impartial, and I just want to, talk about the elephant in the room real quick here. We're supposed to be impartial, and I get that, ladies and gentlemen. But when you've been around the same group of guys for multiple years, like Frank and I have, we've known these guys for a long time. Mm-hmm. When you see a guy that is always one of the good guys, one of the guys that's always one of the first to chip in and try to help somebody, help a new driver, help a driver that might be struggling, like, hey, try this line, or hey, try, adjusting this or that. When you see them about to hit the pinnacle of their racing career in iRacing, you kind of, I know we're supposed to be impartial as members of the media, but you do kind of have that, that little voice in you that says, come on, you can do this, you can do this. And that's kind of what you saw Sunday night between Frank and I, because, damn, if Ernie Ludwig didn't almost just steal that race.
Yeah, he did, and we definitely, both of us were both very, very guilty of rooting for him last Sunday night. And unfortunately, I was expecting to see him here tonight, but he is unfortunately not, as we're in the midst of qualifying here. We'll talk about that a little bit more, because boy, do we have a lot of time to discuss some stuff here tonight. Another 200 laps, another 500 miles here at Indianapolis, and a championship that could be up for grabs here tonight between Nate Siefker and Chris Simard, as we see Chad Simpson about to complete his second lap, put it up into fourth position on his first. Chris Simard right now has the pole, and we will get to why that's important in just a moment, other than for the obvious reasons, as Simpson will go up to the pole. So Chad Simpson, by about 0.07 of a second, is quicker than Chris Simard, as Nate Siefker comes across the line for the first time, and Nate only goes 12th on his first lap, and we have a minute to go.
Yeah, but that time that Siefker just put up is one of the better first lap times that we've seen.
Yeah, and just think, we're only between Nate and Chad Simpson up at the top there. There's only about there's really just like a tenth in it between first and 13th at the moment, as Nate comes around, bettered his first half of the lap, and with around 25 seconds to go, he will come across the line to finish his second lap, and Nate will jump up into 10th. So not the best qualifying that Nate could have had, as Johnny Antonucci is out on his first lap, but he will not get to complete it before we go into the warm-up session, or I guess we can call it the carb session, as they would here for the Indy Series.
Absolutely. And before we get going too much further, I do have to thank Chris Walker for agreeing to step up and roll race control tonight. So hats off to you, Chris, and hopefully you don't have to deal with any of the shenaniganery that we've had to deal with earlier in the season.
And right now, looking at it here, we got this 5-minute session about to begin, and we'll take a look at the driver's standings, as we tend to do here during the warm-up session. Chris Simard and Nate Siefker separated by quite a bit. They are separated by 78 points. And Chris Simard losing out on pole was very, very big for him. Unfortunately, in the wrong way, because if Nate would have gotten the pole, Nate would have only had to finish a car ahead of Chris. So if Nate were to have finished sixth, Chris would have had to have finished eighth in order for Nate to clinch the championship here tonight. If Simard would have gotten the pole, however, that would have needed to be 4 cars in between the two in order for Nate to win the championship. Now it's going to be about 2 or 3, depending upon bonus points. So that 1 point that Chris Simard lost out on could be the difference of being able to fight for a championship next week at Milwaukee and not.
Well, regardless of if he can fight for the championship, there's still a lot of fighting left to do in the top 10. Because there's only 31 points that separate Chris Simard from Jeffrey Roulette, who sits in third right now. Butch Davis is only 2 more points back from that. Bentley Glazer, another 6 points back. Jeff Hollingsworth is another 1 point back from his teammate. And then you've got Jeff Bogan and Brett Beasley for Riding Dirty Racing that are 7 and 45 points back from there. So, throw a blanket over the top 8 right now, because these last 3 races are going to be huge for who finishes on the podium. Nate's going to have 3 really horrid races for anybody really to have a chance to catch him. But everybody else in the top 8 still has a shot at the top 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been so close all season long. And we're seeing a lot of guys here today. Indianapolis tends to do this, especially with it being one of the bigger events. We're seeing a bunch of guys that we haven't seen all season long, like this guy here in the number 75 tonight. Scott Ramler is here, I believe, for the first time since Monza back in race 3 of the season. Other guys like Nicholas Vassenar, who we haven't seen since, I believe it was the second race of the year at Kentucky, is here tonight. So Indianapolis bringing out a lot of names. Ron Hollifield, a guy that we've seen usually on Tuesday nights in the Western States Racing League, he is here for the first time in a couple of months. So a lot of new names in with the guys who we're used to seeing every single week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how how these guys can coexist, because you've got the guys that have been racing with each other all season. You kind of know how somebody's going to react when you put you start to play duck and peek in their mirrors. Some of these guys that haven't been running all season, you kind of got to wonder, is the new kid going to play nice with all the other students?
Just saw there a little bit of something we're going to be battling all night long here. Some net code between Michael Bourne and Tyler Vickery in the 19 and 24. This track, we saw the finish here last year. It was an absolutely incredible finish. 2 laps to go. Nate Siefker and Butch Davis battling it out for the win. Nate Siefker spins coming off of turn 4, puts the caution out that ended the race. Butch Davis gets the win. This is a racetrack that is going to provide a lot of excitement. And if you missed that Major Series race on Sunday night, that right there was a precursor to what you can expect here tonight. Pit strategy, the end of this race is going to be very, very close on fuel, depending upon when the cautions fly.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got similar track conditions to what we saw Sunday night, too. 75-degree ambient air temperature, 106-degree starting track temperature. At least that's what it is right now, with a 3-mile-an-hour wind down the short chute in between turns 1 and 2.
I believe it was 2 for Sunday night.
It was straight across turn 2 then, but with it going straight down that short chute, that's going to make turn 2 very important, because you've got to be able to navigate the 3-mile-an-hour wind. That there's a break in the grandstands going into turn 2 in that short chute that can really wreak havoc with the aero package on these cars.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we get set to go here for the second annual Sim Racers Edge Indianapolis 500 here, 27 drivers to take the grid tonight, one of the bigger fields we've seen for Sim Racers Edge this season. Chad Simpson beats out Chris Simard by 3/100ths of a second to take the pole. Scott Ramler and Butch Davis will make up row number 2. Row 3 goes to William Fletcher and Jackson Bell. Mike Randy Sr. and Bentley Glazer will make up row number 4. Jeffrey Roulette and Nate Siefker round out the top 10 in row number 5. Dan Brazington, who has come down from the race control booth, will start 11th here tonight with Carl Burke to his outside on row number 6. Row 7 will go to Joe Morganti and Tim Bates. Jeffrey Bogan and Jose Viguera will make up row number 8.
Row 9, we see Michael Bourne and Kevin O'Brien, with Paul Crumry and Tyler Bloom starting in row 10. Row 11 goes to Nick Wassenaar and Ron Holyfield. Charles Woods and Chris Walker, Chris Walker's up in race control, so it'll be Charles Woods and Shane Loveridge rolling off in row 12, with row 13 going to Tyler Vickery and Johnny Antonucci.
Those guys ordered by iRatings since they did not put in a qualifying lap. And Tony, this is where it gets incredibly exciting. We know it's a long race. There are guys, though, who are going to want to make moves early to try to see what their cars can do. We didn't see a lot of passing, per se, on Sunday night. Very similar car setup to the very similar car set on these cars tonight as compared to Sunday.
Well, I wouldn't say we didn't see a lot of passing, because we did see the guy that started stone dead last in the field work his way to the front. And all of those passes were on the racetrack. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Keep your eye on that outside lane on this start, because Kristen Martin, Butch Davis, both of them hungry for wins tonight. Butch trying to get into the top 3, Chris trying to do whatever he can to try to lessen Nate Siefker's lead. And we've got a lot of hungry wolves on the track right now.
Yeah, there are a couple of scenarios where Nate can win the championship tonight. There are a couple where where Chris can extend it until Milwaukee. We'll go through those. We'll have about 3 to 3.5 hours tonight to go over all of those scenarios with you. Pace car ducks off for the first time here tonight as the second annual Sim Racers Edge Indianapolis 500 is green 200 laps, and it's going to be Chad Simpson leading them down into turn number 1.
Simpson got a great start there, as he's got Scott Ramler working with him right now, and crap, my internet's about to take a poo.
Maybe not necessarily working with him, as Ramler on that inside, Simard trying to take the run on the outside. Just can't quite get it done. Now, we did see on Sunday night that you can hang on that outside line in these cars. And again, it's a custom setup for these drivers, but it's a stock custom setup, so everyone is using that same custom setup. So we'll see how that evolves over the course of the night as Chris Simard loses out on leading the very first lap, and he's going to lead the second one. And Butch Davis is around in a big accident coming out of turn 1. Last year's 500 winner is in the wall backwards already.
That was a big hit. Holy Christmas.
Absolutely was. Nate Siefker involved as well. We saw Jackson Bell had a piece of it. There's Bell's number 25.
It looks like it started with Bell going up the track into Davis.
Yeah, we'll dissect what happened here. It's like Bentley Glazer, Charles Woods also may have been a part of it. Shane Loveridge. As we'll take a look and see what happened here going through turns 1 and 2. And you're right, that 25 just rode up. We'll see where somebody blinking there. or it looked as though, no, they don't get involved in it.
Just threw it
Charles
to
Wood
the inside,
stopped.
and it just could not stick.
Will Fletcher gets involved in this one as well, and you can see the contact in front. Fletcher with nowhere to go, then right into Nate Siefker, who had nowhere to go. Like Paul Crumrye might have had some damage as well. Ride on board, your championship leader. And didn't even have time to react going into turn one, coming out of turn one there. Just had absolutely nothing to do.
Yeah, that was ugly. That was a very ugly crash.
See that, just that push up from Jackson Bell. Tim Bates also caught a little piece of it. It was Jeffrey Bogan. Now there are two look-alike cars here tonight. So we see Jackson Bell still riding with that broken front suspension on that Jim Beam number 25. Now there is a fast repair here tonight, and these guys are already stuck in a very deep hole. Working lap 2 of 200, and that fast repair is already gone.
Yeah, you really hate to see that happen this early in this long of a race. But it's just one of them racing deals, you know. He had the run going into one, stuck his nose in there, and it didn't stick. The aero push is very real tonight.
And it was very real on Wednesday night as well. Those guys able to control it a little bit better here. Again, those were custom setups that night, and they're custom setups again here tonight. But again, just to take that second, there are two, as I had mentioned a second ago, there are two look-alike cars here tonight. There's Jeffrey Bogan's number 21. His very kind of them to pull up side by side. There's Bogan's GM Goodwrench number 21. And there's Paul Crumrye's GM Goodwrench number 3. And you can tell them apart. Well, the good thing is you can tell them apart by the
rims.
Yeah, by the kind, vastly different color of their rims.
Yeah.
Red for Bogan, highlighter yellow for Crumrye tonight.
Well, I think Crumrye, because he had been running a Valvoline paint scheme. That's where the yellow rims had come from. It kind of works.
It doesn't look half bad.
No, I think it works.
Crumrye is going to come in again here to top off.
What the hell is wrong
and again,
with my internet?
It's not a bad idea, even this early, to start thinking about fuel mileage around here, because we saw that play a huge factor on Sunday night, and we saw it play a huge factor last night in the Western States Racing League race here at Indy less than 24 hours ago. So it's never too early to think about fuel strategy and trying to top off when you can, or trying to save when you can. As the happiest man on track right now, most likely, is Chris Simard, not just because he has the race lead, but because the guy he's trying to beat in the championship, that man right there, Nate Siefker, currently sitting a lap down, stone dead last in 26th position. So that is huge right now, as the two championship contenders bookending this field as we get set to go back to green flag racing here, as we're about to take lap 6 of 200. It'll be Chris Simard, Chad Simpson, Scott Ramler, Mike Grandy was able to jump up 3 spots on the restart. Bentley Glazer up into 5th. Bentley Glazer the winner last night here in that Western States Racing League race. 7th win of the season there, and he's about to lock that championship up with only 2 races to go in that series as well, as we get set to go back to green flag racing here. There goes Chris Simard. There goes the green flag. And we are back racing here at Indianapolis. As they head through turns 1 and 2. This front group here sort of spread out as we would expect, going back a little bit towards the middle of the field. Michael Bourne in that 19, running up in the 9th position here early on tonight, up 8 positions thanks to missing that incident. Jose Viguera running in the top 10 in that number 48. As we're looking back a little bit further, there's Ron Hollifield in that Pennzoil number 58, riding just behind Johnny Antonucci. Tyler Vickery there as well. As we go back up to the race lead, that is Chad Simpson looking to the outside of Chris Simard going into turn 1. Nothing doing there. As Simard will lead through 1 and 2 down this back straightaway. And it looks as though Simpson will take the race lead back going into turn 3. Scott Ramler, Mike Grandy right in there. Carl Burke, who was one of the 9 drivers in the field tonight that were racing in that Western States Racing League race last night. Currently the first of the drivers that took part in the race last night. Riding in 5th position, Bentley Glazer trying to hold off Jeffrey Roulette in the number 66 as they head through turn 2. A lot of spread out racing right now as we look towards the back of the field. The closest 2 running right next to each other. That is Ron Hollifield in the 58, Tyler Vickery in the 24. Going through 3 and 4, back up at the front. Chad Simpson forced to allow that 77 of Chris Simard to take to the inside. And Simard certainly is going to be looking for every single bonus point he could possibly find tonight. There is going to be absolutely no giving up anything for Chris Simard. He's going to make everybody work for every single position that he could possibly give up tonight. He's looking further back through the field. Here is Nate Siefker working his way up through the field. That's Paul Crumry that he has just gotten around. A benefit for Simard right now is that Will Fletcher, right there in that number 28, is the first car not on the lead lap. So Fletcher would be the one to get the wave around if a caution were to come out right at this very second. Siefker right now has Kevin O'Brien in between him and Fletcher. Fletcher on the inside trying to put yet another car in between them. That's the 92 of Nicholas Vassenar. That very nice looking gold paint scheme tonight. As we look back up to the race lead. Boy, and it's just that close at the line sometimes. Chris Simard losing out to Chad Simpson at the line and coming through turns 1 and 2. Losing out to Chad Simpson as well. Now, these guys were briefed about the Indy Snake, which is why you're not seeing a lot of guys aggressively trying to break the draft down the long front and back straightaways here. They were briefed during the drivers' meeting to not do that. So it looks like Scott Ramler having a little bit of connection issues there in the 57. As Chris Simard will go back to the race lead going into turn number 1, just outside the top 10. Tyler Bloom Jr. in the number 96, trying to chase down Michael Bourne. Bourne still sitting in the top 10. He's been passed by Jose Viguera. And now is about to get passed by Tyler Bloom. So Tyler Bloom now jumps up into a top 10 position. Battle about to ensue for the first car not on the lead lap as Nate Siefker has Will Fletcher in his sights right now, as Fletcher finding it incredibly difficult to get past Nicholas Vassenar. Fletcher just does not seem to have the get up and go at the right time to get around Vassenar. It's just Vassenar able to hold it on the outside. Now Siefker is going to try to take advantage of that. Nate goes to the outside, and he will take the position. Now that's for the 24th position, but for Nate, that puts him as the first car not on the lead lap. As we see Michael Bourne coming into pit road. Doesn't appear to be anything cosmetically wrong with that number 19. We saw him slow and on the access road. Going through turn 3 as we go back up to the front. Still swapping hands between Chris Simard and Chad Simpson. Scott Ramler just still hanging back. As now Michael Bourne has gone a lap down. And looking back towards the back end of the top 10, that is number 10 of Joe Morganti. Trying to close in on Jeffrey Roulette in the number 66. Roulette, who has done a fine job this year, has gotten himself up into third position in standings. As Morganti just had an absolutely horrendous turn 1 and 2. Has allowed Vigera to go by, and Morganti's going to take to the access road as well. Looks like he's coming in. Wonder what could have happened there to Joe Morganti. So we've now seen 2 drivers early on here tonight take to pit road. Michael Bourne and now Joe Morganti, both of them running in the top 10. Or at least around that top 10 range. Taking a look a little bit further back, Tyler Vickery has taken over that 15th position from Ron Hollifield. As Nate Siefker continues to run away, he's trying to catch down Johnny Antonucci in that Firestone number 13.
Looks like Morganti may have brushed the wall coming through the short chute in 1 and 2.
That'll certainly do it. Welcome back.
Yeah, sorry about that. My ISP decided that
Didn't need to
they
work
wanted
anymore.
to. Yeah.
This is now the battle for that 10th position. Jeffrey Bogan, Tim Bates, and Jackson Bell. As the caution has come out, it looks like Shane Loveridge in the 72 has had a spin. That's in turn 2. Side pod off of that number 72, Delara IR18. Hits the wall coming out of turn 1 and no steering. Wow, that's a hard hit.
Yeah.
Incredibly hard hit there for Shane Loveridge. We'll ride on board with him here. Just pushed a little too hard. He knew he was in trouble. And boom. That is definitely how quick it can happen here, as we are under our second caution of the night here on lap 19. And because of the timing of that caution, 2 drivers, 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 The guy who will be getting the wave around is not Nate Siefker. It is going to be Joe Morganti. So Simard can afford to breathe here for just another second because Nate will not be allowed on the lead lap just yet. As everybody now should and will be taking to pit road. At least those who are on the lead lap will do just that. And into the pit lane comes the field. All but 3 drivers decide to stay out. Joe Morganti takes the wave around. Butch Davis and Michael Bourne decide to stay out as well. Everybody else coming down pit road. So we will now take a look and see who comes out where. And it will be Chad Simpson winning the race off of pit road. Looks like the top 5 come in and out in roughly the same order. As we get set to line this field back up here. And get ready to go again.
User in your channel timed out.
So again, only under our second caution as Tony continues to have internet troubles. This has not been a good 24 hours here recently for the ESPN broadcasting crew. I had a couple of issues last night with the broadcast and broadcast quality. From what I'm hearing, the Endurance for Amateurs series has had a complete broadcast failure. Believe they are back up now. And now Tony's having issues, so we've all been struck with the connection quality bug here as of late. And hopefully, my computer will act professional enough like it did last night to, if it does die on me, to die just after the checkered flag. So we don't miss a single second of this Sim Racers Edge Indianapolis 500 as Butch Davis and Michael Bourne take their wave arounds. And Butch is in a situation to where he is hoping for a quick caution. The only time Butch Davis has come into pit was the time when he was the tow after the first lap caution. So he is begging for a quick caution here. The only time he's been down pit road is lap 2. Michael Bourne is not in such imminent danger. He came in on lap 13. So there is still some leeway and some breathing room for him. As we see everyone's starting to line up there, the 2 come in the background there. As we get set to go back to green flag racing here on lap 22 of 200 here tonight at Indianapolis. Chad Simpson, Chris Simard, Scott Ramler, Mike Grandy, and Carl Burke will be the top 5 on this restart. Bentley Glazer, Jeffrey Roulette, Jose Viguera, Tyler Bloom, and Tim Bates will round out the top 10 as Simpson will hold them down. Green flag is back in the air, and we are racing once again here at Indianapolis. Already that battle around the 10th position heating up as Bates looks to the outside of Tyler Bloom, and he will take that position. Jackson Bell will follow suit. So that's Bates up to 9th, Bell up to 10th. Nate Seeker, again, not for position, still a lap down. After coming into pit, Will Fletcher a lap down as well. Those are the only two that are 1 lap down. Shane Loveridge 2 laps down at the moment. Looking a little bit further back through the field. Ron Hollifield, Dan Brazington, Kevin O'Brien. There's a battle for the 16th position. Paul Crumry and Butch Davis in there as well. And now Butch Davis is racing for position, but he's also hoping and praying for a caution to come out as soon as humanly possible so he can come in and get tires, fuel, more pressing matter. In that number 43, Nate Seeker also praying for a caution to get back on the lead lap, as once again the lead looks like it's about to change hands. And it will change hands. Chris Simard takes the lap and will take the lead. Scott Rambler looks not interested at all in joining that battle up at the front. Sit here and save a little bit of fuel, while Simpson and Simard battle each other, and there goes Simpson. Back to the race lead, going down into turn number 3. Simard trying to stick it on the outside. Boy, that's a great shot there of the run going down into turn number 1, our fan cam here tonight. It's another beautiful shot right there. My goodness, it's amazing some of the places that these guys think to stick a camera to broadcast these races. It's unbelievable. Such a unique shot there through turn 2 as Simpson goes back to the race lead. Jackson Bell closing in on Jose Viguera. Now, Jackson Bell was a part of that first lap incident, or second lap incident in turn 1. Actually, the cause of that second lap incident. He will go around Jose Viguera, was able to stay on the lead lap because he was able to get that car righted and take the caution laps with the rest of the field, where Butch Davis and Nate Seeker and Will Fletcher were not able to do so. So Jackson Bell running in the 9th position, had a podium finish last night at WSRL. Now looking to the inside of Jose Viguera here going into turn 1, but that outside looks very, very strong tonight. And again, it was custom setups on Sunday night for the Major Series, but here it's custom setups, but it's a stock custom setup. So everyone is running the same custom setup that was designated for tonight. So all of these guys, it's essentially a stock night here for these drivers, and we are seeing a lot more passing, a lot more battling than what we saw a couple of nights ago. Because of that fact, Paul Crumry in the 18th position, trying to run away from Kevin O'Brien and in turn chase down Butch Davis. The inaugural Sim Racers Edge Indianapolis 500 winner, not finding too much luck here tonight after qualifying up in the top 5. Running down in 17th after just getting his lap back, and he's not that far away from needing to make a pit stop as Tyler Bloom comes in to make a pit stop. Now, Bloom was one of the guys that just came into pit under this last caution. So we go back and see if Jackson Bell now can make a move on Jose Viguera. And it looks as though he will not be able to, as that outside line looking incredibly strong tonight. Back up at the front, Simpson and Simard. Simard again, just barely holding on and taking that race lead. There's Tyler Bloom exiting pit road. Back in that 5th position there is Carl Burke in the 53. Trying to chase down Mike Grandy. Not a lot of passing going on here right now, unless it's for the race lead. Everyone pretty much stuck where they were. As we have this battle here, this is for the 11th position. Nicholas Vassenar at the head of this group. Tyler Vickery there as well. And Vickery actually going now for the lead of this group as Vickery looks to the inside of Vassenar. Outside line momentum doing wonders for the 92, and he's able to stay up in this lead of this group here. Now Vassenar might want to get a move on as he's currently sitting 2 seconds behind Jeffrey Bogan in the 21 and losing time. As you see there in the foreground, that's Will Fletcher trying to get around him. Tyler Vickery once again looking to the inside of Vassenar, has the position this time. Joe Morganti looking to follow him through and does. Now it's going to be Dan Brazington's turn to look to the inside of Vassenar. Cannot get the move done, and that battle has now allowed Ron Hollifield to jump up into the fray. As Hollifield currently running in that 15th position. Top 7 has remained the same. Jackson Bell has gotten around Jose Viguera. There is Butch Davis. Now Davis just came into pit road as we were expecting him to. So Butch Davis now the first car not on the lead lap after pitting on lap 31. So Davis coming into pit 2 laps ago. There is the man he's trying to keep behind him, Nate Siefker, just one car. It's Jose Viguera in between the 43 and the 1 right now, and that is crucial again for the 77 of Chris Simard. As Davis trying to work his way around Jackson Bell to put as much ground between himself and Nate as possible. Got a very good run on the outside. Bell cut it off, had to go to the inside, and by that time he had lost all that momentum. And no longer was able to make the move. Carl Burke has gotten around Mike Grandy in the number 12. Let's take a look and see how the 4th position changed hands. See Simard and Simpson battling for the race lead. 53 got a great run going down into turn 1, and that's pretty much the pass we've been seeing. Jeffrey Roulette now has been passed by Jackson Bell. So Bell moves himself up into the 7th position. With Roulette and Viguera, as Viguera now about to get passed by Nate Siefker and does. Butch Davis now goes to the inside of Jeffrey Roulette. Will Roulette be able to hold on? Yes, he will. It's completely inverse from what we're used to seeing here in Indianapolis, and because of that failed move, that has now allowed Siefker to make a move on Davis, but Davis able to recover quick enough to not allow the move to be made, and Siefker looking to make a move on the outside of Davis. Davis seeing it, cuts it off. And now down the front straightaway, Nate has the run. Boy, it just stalls out the second that he peeks out. As I believe I just heard. Tony, welcome back. Yes?
Yeah, thank you.
There he is. He's a mile away, but he's here at least.
And for those people that work with the ISP that I have in my apartment,
Keep it PG, first of all.
I hope you get a broken hockey stick crammed into your rectum.
There it is.
And may all your children be ugly.
So while you were gone, we'll do the race recap here. While you were gone, a single car spin with Shane Loveridge brought out the caution on lap 18. Everybody came into pit except for Butch Davis and Michael Bourne. Both of those guys got back on the lead lap. Butch Davis came into pit on lap 31 since he had not been down pit road since lap 2. He and Nate are now battling for the lucky dog position as Davis is trying to get Roulette in between himself and Nate, and now will finally do that successfully.
And up towards the front of the field, looks like we have a battle for the lead really heating up as Chris Samard throws it to the inside going into turn 1, gets to pass the stick down the short chute. Samard to the point.
Yeah, those two have been swapping positions at least once or twice a lap. This end of the racetrack, Simpson will take the lead, and then back the other way, it's Samard.
Didn't we see something similar to this the other night?
Yeah, might have done. One thing that we haven't seen, well, that we didn't see on Sunday night, the outside line has been incredibly good in defense. Which that's, completely backwards to what you would normally expect here in Indianapolis is because of the move. Nate has been able to get around Roulette, and now the battle for the lucky dog is on between the 43 and the 1 again.
Absolutely. A lot of battling going on throughout the entire field as I'm seeing right now. There's battles going on in different areas. The next closest battle other than the one for the lead and the one between Davis and Siefker looks like between Paul Kermrye and Kevin O'Brien for the number 16 slot.
Yeah, those guys have been going back and forth as well, riding on board right now with Bentley Glazer, last night's winner. As he tries to hold off Jackson Bell, which looks like a very similar feat for what he did last night. 64 laps caution-free for the Western States Racing League Truck Series here at Indianapolis last night. And put on an incredible race that series did, just as they did the year before. And Glazer not that far away, if he hasn't done it already, not that far away from clinching a championship there. It'll be the first time in 3.5 calendar years that neither Bob Beltrami or Brian Barnes took home the Tuesday night championship. So it's been an incredibly good season for Bentley Glazer in his first full season. He made a lot of appearances last year, but was not a consistent entrant. This year, he's made it to every single race and has put on a clinic most weeks.
And looks like Paul Kermrye bringing it down pit road.
Yeah, we've been seeing guys straggling into pit road as there's that 3 of Kermrye sitting in the lane. As we look back, Glazer now with Butch Davis between him and the 25 of Jackson Bell. And I don't know, that might have been a little bit of net code there. I don't know if you saw that, Tony. Coming out of turn 1, there was a little spark on the wall as if Butch Davis had hit the wall, but he still had about a half a car length between himself and the wall.
Let me go look.
And now Chris Samard comes in from the race lead Again, all these guys coming in from the pit stop on lap 19. So the pit cycle has begun. And would have to expect Chad Simpson will be in very, very soon because it's been him and Samard swapping the race lead at both ends of the racetrack. Scott Ramler can afford to run a couple of extra laps now.
It looked like Davis had gotten into the right rear tire, and if he didn't, it was damn close. A piece of paper difference between hitting and not hitting on Bentley Glazer, and really had to climb on the binders and lost a ton of momentum from doing that.
Chad Simpson, Jackson Bell, Jeffrey Bogan, Will Fletcher all in, Ron Hollifield, Johnny Antonucci, a lot of guys at the back of the line all coming in as Chris Samard in the 77 is now back out on the racetrack in the short chute between turns 3 and 4. That promotes Scott Ramler up to the race lead in the number 57. Again, the first time we've seen Scott Ramler on the Sim Racers Edge Tour since Monza back at week 3, where he had a very solid run before an accident. Bentley Glazer, Carl Berg, Jose Viguera, Joe Morganti, Tyler Vickery, Nate Siefker all coming into pit road. And this will be a godsend for Butch Davis, who doesn't have to fight with Nate much anymore. And you can see in the background there, that's Jose Viguera who blew the pit box there in that red number 48. Still hasn't quite gotten it straightened out. Still not there. Still not in the box is the 48 of Viguera, trying to line himself up properly, and now that 48 finally goes up in the air.
That is the worst feeling on the planet.
I mean, we heard, who was it? It was Bryson Schutte had that issue on the first pit stop, and the first thing he thought to do, instead of doing what Viguera did, was just to tow it.
Right, because if you're technically in the box, it's like a 10-15 second tow as opposed to 2.5 minutes.
Yep. As here comes Scott Ramler from the race lead into pit road. That'll promote Chad Simpson, who is battling right there with Chris Samard. Go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was going to say Simpson and Samard are about the closest battle on track right now. Grandy and Roulette kind of going at it as they're trying to get back up to speed after their pit stop.
So Scott Ramler about to lose the race lead, well, has lost the race lead. Trying to figure out where he is going to come out in all of this. Here's Ramler leaving pit road now. Ramler about to lose the race lead here, not that far away from doing so. We're about to see Chris Samard. Yep, there they go. Samard and Simpson are going to flash by about to flash by Ramler.
And Chris Samard jumped down to try to pick up a little bit of draft off of Ramler, and Simpson went to his outside. Luckily, backed off just enough to let Samard get back in line and not run Ramler over from behind. So, good on those guys right now as, throw a blanket over your top three as they've got just over a 2-second lead over fourth place Bentley Glazer, who is starting to get his rearview mirrors filled with Jackson Bell rounding out your top 5.
Yep, so these two will do the dance again as those three that you see on your screen right now. The only three to have led laps tonight, Chris Samard, Chad Simpson, and Scott Ramler. There's Bentley Glazer, 2.5 seconds behind, and you're right, has Jackson Bell all over him. Nate Siefker in front of Bentley Glazer. Siefker right now, the first car not on the lead lap. That thanks to Butch Davis not having to pit just yet. He's about 13 to 15 laps off cycle from everybody else, so he will be needing to come in the not so distant future running in the 9th position right now, trying to fend off Jeffrey Bogan. However, he and Nate might be battling if this race stays green and if Butch Davis has to come back in.
And the off-cycle deal, that goes right back to what we were seeing Sunday night with the whole shooty and pit strategy. And, Butch Davis might know something that the rest of us don't, and it wouldn't surprise me. He has an Indy 500 win in his pocket. The only other person in the field right now that can say that they have a Wednesday night win is Timmy Bates in the 6, currently running in 22nd.
So Bates has not had the greatest of runs as of yet. Butch Davis has been passed by Jeffrey Bogan. That is for position. That is for the 10th position. Will Fletcher behind the 43 is not for position. As we look back up to the race lead, there is the lead trio. Bentley Glazer now trying to get past Nate Siefker, who won't be too hurt about giving that position up, knowing, 1, the speed of Glazer, and 2, he's got quite a gap of about 6.5 seconds back to Will Fletcher, who is the next car 1 lap down. He's not going to be too pained about giving up this track position.
No, probably not, because he knows that, it's still a long race. We're only working lap 52 of 200, so plenty of time left in this one. As we've got another one coming down pit road now.
That is Michael Bourne.
Yes.
As Jackson Bell tried to get around Nate, just couldn't do it. As Grandy, Roulette, and Burke have now caught up to Jackson Bell, making this a 6-car group here just outside of the podium positions. As the leaders come out of turn 3, head on through turn 4. We are a little bit more than a quarter distance gone here in the 2nd annual Indianapolis 500 for the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series. We will be back momentarily right after this break. Don't go anywhere. Tonight's broadcast of the second annual Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series Indianapolis 500 is sponsored by DiecastNuts.com. Post your own diecast collection, add or trade to it in the shop, and see other members' collections at DiecastNuts.com and on Facebook at DiecastNuts. And by Rocket Racing Setups. Rocket Racing Setups is one of the leading setup builders for the iRacing community. Find dirt and asphalt setups, tuning guides, fuel sheets, and much, much more at RocketRacingSetups.com today. Tonight's race is also brought to you by your series sponsors, Raise Energy and Turn Racing, and the series thanks you for your continued support. Working lap 59, about to start lap 60 here in about 20 seconds or so. From the second annual Indianapolis 500 for the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series, and as you can see, this lead pack has closed back up. What was a pack of 3 versus a pack of 6 is now a pack of about 9 or 10.
8.
All running for, well, 8, close enough. All running for the race lead. A couple of lap cars in there. Nate Siefker being the first of those lap cars in that number 1. He is only about 3 positions away, on track that is, from gaining his lap back the hard way in that number 1 and being scored on the lead lap for the first time since the opening lap of this event. During the break, Butch Davis in the 43 came into pit road as expected. So he is now 1 lap down as well, with Nate Siefker only 1 car between him and Nate. There is the next driver to be lapped, Tim Bates, who would become the lucky dog when that happens. And Chris Simard, who has settled himself into a nice and comfortable lead as there goes Nate around Scott Ramler.
There goes Nate, and here comes Jackson Bell inside of Rambler. It's their side-by-side going through turn 3 into the short chute. Bell wisely backing out of it. He better not back out of it too much because he's got a very hungry Butch Davis right on his transmission tunnel as they haul off down the front straightaway.
Last time Nate and Jackson and Butch got side-by-side was turns 1 and 2, and that was the cause of the caution on lap 2 of this event. So I'm sure those two are going to be a little extra careful around each other right now as Nate Siefker starting to put Chad Simpson under fire. Now we know that these guys were spoken to during the pre-race about doing the Indy Snake, and we're not insinuating anything here. Nate has jumped out of line a couple of times here and has not really had an attempt to pass. I don't know if that's something that the stewards would be looking at, but it might be construed a certain way, especially if you are the pilot of number 77.
You're not wrong. I was kind of watching that myself going, the thing is, though, I've never seen a problem with it. I mean, I've never seen the real advantage to the Indy Snake. I've always just kind of held my line and hoped for the best. But with what Nate's doing, it's almost like he's trying to break some speed off of his own car. Because he doesn't want to make that pass, air quote, yet.
There are other ways to do that. I mean, there are ways where you can turn the engine mode down, especially if you're in a draft like this. It really won't affect the top speed of your car all that much because there are multiple engine modes that you can put the engine in. It's not just fast, slow. There's about 6 different fuel maps in these cars, as now he's got to run on Chad Simpson, and now he is going to look to make that pass going into turn 1. However, he is not going to have the momentum. One guy who does have the momentum is Scott Ramler, and he's going to look now to put an attack on.
Yeah, absolutely. I will be right back because I need to go talk to race control about this.
Okay, so there's Detective Tony is on it as we ride on board with Scott Ramler. And again, the only reason why we bring that up is because these guys have been warned multiple times, not just this year, but last year, and on the bigger tracks as well, like say a Texas or a Michigan, about doing that Indy snake to try to break the draft and trying to follow in line with the guy in front of you. It's one thing if he's looking for a pass, but it's not egregious what Nate's doing right now. You're used to seeing like we saw on Sunday night. You would see drivers going all the way down to the grass or down to the inside wall down the front straightaway as the pit cycle is about to begin. Chris Samard, Jackson Bell going in. Detective Tony, what did you find out?
As per what race control just explained to me, you're allowed one move down to defend and one move to get back to the racing line.
Okay. So there you go. So it's legal what he's doing. As now here comes Nate. This is to get his lap back, and he will do just that. So Nate Siefker, for the first time since lap number 2 of this event, is back on the lead lap. Now the difficult part comes if we do happen to go green the rest of the way, even though I've just jinxed it right now.
You can get your hate mail coming, folks. That's Sam Marchese, ESPN Towers.
Excuse me. Sam Marchese. There it is. Now
that's something Sam would have done.
Well, I mean, heck, if it's not going to me, that's fine.
Exactly.
So Nate now has the task of, if we do stay green, of going around the entirety of the racetrack and making up passes, making up time, trying to get that lap completely back and get into a place where he can get into position. However, he's bringing it down into pit road now.
Trying to keep on a more normal pit cycle as everybody else. I mean, I can kind of understand that because, when the leaders start to come in, you kind of have to go with them.
Absolutely.
But, while we do have a pit cycle going on, a little bit of trivia.
Excuse me?
A little bit of trivia. On Memorial Day weekend, there's 3 major races.
Well, 2, because one sport decided to mess that up.
Well, normally there's
Bentley
3 major
Glazer
races.
Comes in.
Normally there's 3. There's usually Monaco in the morning, Indy in the afternoon, and the Charlotte, whatever they're calling it this year,
Coke
600. Now, in the United States, there's been a lot of drivers that have attempted to do, air quote, the double, where you run Indianapolis in the afternoon and then immediately fly to Charlotte and do the Coke 600. Only one driver in the history of both those series has ever completed all 1,100 laps. A nice trivia question. Who was that driver?
Was it recent? Because I have a couple of guys that jumped to mind.
It was in
the last 20 years.
Yes.
Okay, so I have 2 names, and I know one of them is probably right.
So, in the chats, let us know what your answer is.
So Scott Ramler takes over the race lead again. Still only 3 unique leaders here tonight. Chris Samard, Scott Ramler, and Chad Simpson, as Simpson pulls it into pit road. Mike Grandy coming down as well into pit road. So now that will leave Ramler and Roulette alone. Ramler was the furthest stop. Came into pit on lap 48. He was the last leader to come in, was the 57 of Scott Ramler. So we know, can go a couple more laps than everybody else at least after the pit cycle started back on lap 66 with Chris Simard and Jackson Bell. And this puts him at a huge advantage as Roulette peels off and comes into pit behind him. This puts him at a huge advantage because if he can go, he's on working 2 laps longer than Chad Simpson right now and about 7 laps longer than Chris Simard. This could put Rambler in a very good spot if this pit cycle and this run of pit stops stays the way it is all the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not sure how he's able to get this extra mileage out of it other than maybe riding around in 6th gear when he was, chasing Chris Simard and Chad Simpson, just riding around in 6th gear, just saving fuel. And it looks like we've got a winner to tonight's trivia question already. Logan Detweiler, congratulations.
Was it Tony or was it Kurt?
It was Tony.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Tony was the first name that came to mind.
Yep, Tony finished 6th and 3rd, respectively, in those 2 races.
And I think, if I remember right, and thank you to the NASCAR Thunder Challenges, I believe on NASCAR 03, it was that race, the Coke race, ended up going longer than the 600 miles. So he had to end up, it was a 1,106 mile day for him that day. So Tony Stewart, the overachiever.
Absolutely. But, I mean, you put both cars in the top 10. I mean, wow.
It's amazing. It absolutely is. As Nate Siefker.
Rambler's in.
Yep, Rambler, we saw him come in. Nate Siefker now is ahead of Jackson Bell, who will become just the 4th unique leader here, not this time, but next time by. Bell will look to the inside of Nate Siefker, and that is very significant because that puts Nate Siefker back a lap down. There is Scott Rambler coming out of pit road. And Rambler will come out just behind Nate, it looks like. Nate goes to the outside. Nate actually hits the wall down the back straightaway, or at least Netcode said he hit the wall.
No,
down
he
the
hit
back straightaway.
I saw him hit it.
Yeah, he looked a little far away, at least from the camera angle that we had. Nate battling really hard now, as you would expect him to, trying to get that lap back. At the moment, he has it. But Jackson Bell not giving it up on the inside line. Scott Rambler has jumped into 2nd. Bell now has officially become the 4th unique leader of this race.
But all those guys running side by side is doing is pulling Chris Rambler and and Chris Simard to them.
Yep, is Rambler right on the back end of that number 25. Chris Simard, Chad Simpson on their way back towards the front. As Nate doing everything he possibly can to keep these guys behind him. There goes the 25 down into turn number 1. Finally able to clear Nate Siefker. Now Scott Rambler, who is on well fresher tires than everybody else around him, is right there as well on Nate Siefker.
10 laps fresher than both Jackson Bell and Chris Simard, and 8 laps fresher than Siefker. Bell made it happen on the outside going into 1. That's a ballsy move. That's one of those deals where you gotta hope the car sticks.
And that's where we've been seeing the time made up here. If you can't get them on the inside going into the corner, it's over. The outside line is going to be able to take, and you can see the top 5 and how far they were able to go on their pit and fuel strategies. The 66 of Bell
in the short chute.
Yep, Michael Bourne has had an issue. There's Michael Bourne. We stay green here. This is what happened to Bourne. Boy, he's already lost his front wing somewhere. We'll see what happens here. This is going out of turn 1, hits that inside wall. And because of the human race control, thank you very much, Chris Walker, we stay green. and avoid what would have been our third caution of the night, as back up front, Jackson Bell has once again overtaken the lead position away from Nate Siefker, as Nate looks to gain that lead position back, and we say it that way because, again, if you're just joining us, Nate Siefker 1 lap down.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was a crash in one of the opening laps that
Lap 2.
lap 2, that affected the last time we were at Indy, the winner, Butch Davis. It caught Nate Siefker, caught a whole bunch of guys going into the short chute of 1 and 2. Just car wouldn't stick, and a lot of guys had to burn their crash repairs and have been on the back foot ever since. As you see Siefker doing what he can to try to get back on the lead lap. The one guy that doesn't want to see him get back on the lead lap is the guy he's battling for the points championship with, currently sitting in third place in the running order, and that's, of course, Chris Simard in the Pennzoil 77.
Jackson Bell, worth noting, Jackson Bell was one of those drivers that was caught up in that lap 2 incident, but because he was able to get that car righted enough to be able to make the pace laps under caution and come in with the rest of the field, he did not have to tow, therefore he did not lose a lap. So the 25 of Bell doing that has put him in the position that he is in. Otherwise, it would be Bell and Siefker battling probably to stay on the lead lap with Scott Rambler leading this race.
Yeah.
As Bell's around! Jackson Bell around, caution immediately comes out, and Bell does a fantastic job not to hit anything. But that right there was a godsend for Nate Siefker, who now will get to catch up to the tail end of the field. He is back on the lead lap and back in the hunt here at Indy just prior to halfway.
You want to see something interesting? Watch that from Chris Simard's helmet camera.
Oh, we certainly will. As Jackson Bell does a full 360 and back out. And I would have to say it's all because he clipped the grass. Going through turn 3. Yep, there he's already around.
And we saw that time and time again on Sunday night. Those rumble strips are no joke.
They're not. Here is Chris Simard's view. Oy.
Yeah, that's a code brown.
Yeah, that's good night to bad night very, very quickly if it's another inch.
And that's very similar to what we saw happen to Nate Siefker. Was he spun? Bell and Davis spun right in front of Siefker on lap 2. Siefker had absolutely nowhere to go. Luckily, Chris Simard was far enough back off of the pandemonium that just happened that he was able to take evasive action.
Now Simard is
wholesale pit stops.
Yeah, Bell has decided to jump to pit road here to take the tow. I would have to assume to avoid giving somebody or a group of guys a black flag. Now this is the caution that Simard did not want to see at all, because he had Nate exactly where he wanted him, right on the tail of the lead lap, battling for the lead, battling to stay on the lead lap. Now that's gone as Rambler blows the box. Simard blows the box as well. Rambler still trying to get into his box. Simard has gotten into his already. Simpson wins the race off pit road. Simard will come out 6th. Rambler will come out just behind Tyler Vickery in the 11th position. Not as bad a cycle of pit stops as you could possibly get if you're Scott Rambler.
42 seconds from cone to cone for Rambler.
Yeah, that was not good for the man who came into the pit box with the race lead. Chad Simpson right now has the lead of drivers that came into pit. Nicholas Vassenar has the overall race lead after not pitting right there.
Well, we saw it work on Sunday with, guys that could get out into clean air. Car handles so much different when you've got clean air getting to that front wing. Vassenar may have a good strategy going here because it was only 13 laps since the last time he was down pit road.
Just might. Now this also gets Butch Davis back on pit cycle with everyone else.
And Jackson Bell has put it on the hauler.
So Jackson Bell done for the evening, unfortunately for him. Surprised that it looked like just a simple spin. He didn't hit anything. As Vassenar decides to stay out, so he will get the points for leading a lap here if he didn't get it last time. Going back to what I was saying before Simard and Rambler blew their pit boxes, sure, Simard may not be happy because now that puts Nate back at the back of the field to where he can actually start making up positions. But from lap 2 to lap 84, it took Nate that long to get up to the front of the field. So Nate, if you look at it that way, really is only going to have about 30 to 40 laps to be able to battle with the rest of the guys up at the front, barring nothing else happening.
Maybe, because I mean, you take a look at the guys that he's behind right now. Jose Viguera has been struggling a little bit. Paul Crumry has been struggling a little bit. Charles Wood's been struggling a little bit.
Yeah,
that's
again,
12th, 13th, and 14th with 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th with Seifker restarting in 16th. And you've got Scott Rambler sitting in 11th. You've got Butch Davis sitting in 8th, who we know can lead laps here.
Yeah, but he's been battling those guys, though, since lap 3, and it took him right up until the mid-70s before he finally got around in a pit cycle to be able to get up to the race leaders. So it's certainly going to be something to watch as we go back to green flag racing here on lap 85 of this 200-lap event. Nicholas Vassenar, for the first time tonight, will lead them down to green, gets a nice solid jump on Chad Simpson. We are back to green flag racing here, and already in the back between Dan Brazington, Will Fletcher, and Tim Bates, there's some battling before we even get to the line.
Yeah, those guys really picked up the throttle as soon as they realized that we were going. They were all on it, and no quarter asked for, no quarter given. As Timmy Bates getting a little bit of a lead on Brazington, Tyler Bloom, and it looks like Johnny Antonucci right now as those guys are starting to fade a little bit.
Nicholas Vassenar will now get credited for leading a lap under green here tonight. But Vassenar finds himself in that Butch Davis scenario to where he's 13 laps off cycle from everybody else. And the top 5 right now looking a little bit different from what it was prior to the caution. Nicholas Vassenar, Chad Simpson, Bentley Glazer, Mike Grandy, and Jeffrey Roulette right now, your current top 5. And while we were talking about other points battles, Bentley Glazer, Jeffrey Roulette, those guys all battling for the 3rd place in points behind Chris Simard. And one big name that I'm actually just now realizing is not here, Jeff Hollingsworth, is not going to be able to defend this with by not showing up here tonight.
I just noticed that too. Hollingsworth MIA tonight, and not sure what took place there, but hopefully Jeff's okay. Just not able to show up tonight as wow, that was a big move.
Jeffrey Bogan.
Bentley Glazer to the point.
Seeing that right there as Glazer. Now that opens the door for Simpson, who can't get past Vassenar. Will go. We missed that battle for the lead, so we'll take a look here. Here's the run. Glazer going into turn 3, gets a beautiful run on Chad Simpson, and then just able to follow through with the slower car of Vassenar in a beautiful move to the race lead for the 87. And again, we've mentioned it a couple of times here tonight already, That 87 was in victory lane last night for the Western States Racing League Truck Series race here at Indianapolis. And not only that, he was in victory lane on Monday night in the Next Gen Cup cars at Dover. So Glazer a perfect 2 for 2, looking to go 3 for 3 on the week.
Bessner's got problems.
Yeah, well,
That car is not turning at all.
It's 13 lap difference in tires. It's the first time he's racing up at the front, and he right now is causing quite a disturbance in the middle of this field, right in front of the last guy that wants to see a disturbance in front of him, and that is Chris Simard. And those two, that's Simard and I believe Ramler, who come to blows coming out of turn 2. Fortunately, all good for both drivers, as Simard now forced to back out of it, allowing Ramler to take the attack to Vassenar.
Yeah, Vassenar got up into the marbles, and it took him a couple laps to get those tires clean again, which we've seen a lot of with the new tire model that iRacing has rolled out. As here comes Ramler to the inside as he come across the stripe down into turn number 1. So Ramler on a charge right now. Vassenar, though, to be able to defend on that higher line, not going quite as high as we saw when he had the dirty tires.
And we've seen that all night long. Guys able to battle on that outside line. By the way, Nate Siefker is only able to gain 3 spots. He'd gotten past Charles Woods. He's gotten past Jose Viguera. He's gotten past Paul Crumry. That is about it in the 7 laps since we have gone green. And now is catching up to the back end of Kevin O'Brien here to finally catch up to this big group. That one is on the move, but it is slow progress.
Which you kind of expect on the restarts. You know, they go single file so that we don't get a cluster going into turn 1 on a restart. And it's very easy to have somebody in front of you miss a shift or you know, be in the wrong gear on the restart. And that's going to hold you up because you can't pass to their inside until you get past the start-finish line. And everybody tries to defend that outside until they get to the yard of bricks, you know, to kind of keep whoever's behind you at bay for a moment.
Looking at the championship battle between Nate Siefker and Chris Simard. Simard needs to finish closer than 3 positions behind Nate Siefker. So if Siefker finishes 4th, Simard can finish no lower than 7th if he wants to push the championship fight to Milwaukee. And then it will come down to car count as to whether or not it will be a Siefker takes the green at Milwaukee and the championship is over, or if there could possibly be a fight going into Atlanta at the season finale. So finishing ahead of Nate Siefker right now, or finishing inside of 3 positions behind that number 1, will force the championship to Milwaukee, and Siefker will have to wait another week to clinch. And minus that big incident that he had, or those big incidents that he had at Texas as Nicholas Vassenar comes to pit road, he could have had this championship locked up tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you take a look at, you know, what happened at Daytona. You take a look at what happened at Charlotte. You take a look at what happened at Texas. You know, all of those were sticking points in the title defense that Siefker had this season. You know, any one of those races goes a different way, and you know, we'd be talking about a completely different thing right now. But right now, Siefker needs to drive his tail side off, and Chris Simard needs to make more headway than he is right now. But he's got to keep his wits about him, as we're still not quite to the halfway point. It's not time to really push the envelope too hard, but there's still time to make up for oops if you have it happen.
Nate Siefker had a spin and a wreck coming into pit road at Texas, costing him his fast repair. And then an accident on a late race restart at Texas forced him down to 12th, while Chris Simard went on to win his 2nd Sim Racers Edge race, his first one being back in Season 1 at Twin Ring Motegi. a good, 7 months ago? 7 or 8 months ago?
I believe so. I think
Roughly.
it was back in,
Yeah, that was the 4th round of last season was Twin Ring Motegi.
yeah, it was like October.
Yeah, so quite a while since Simard had seen victory lane. Mike Grandy and Bentley Glazer battling for the race lead as we're just shy of halfway here at Indianapolis. Bentley Glazer, Scott Ramler right now holding the podium positions as Chad Simpson is kind of chilled out from what we had seen of him earlier on, and we're starting to see it now. The Indy Snake is starting slowly starting to make an appearance here as these guys saw what Nate did before, got confirmation. We know some of them do watch the broadcast while the race goes on, found out it was legal. Now they're making that one move.
Yeah, normally we see about 2 or 3 different snakes going, but as far as what they're able to do, you're allowed one defensive move and then one move to get back into the racing line.
Yeah, they just don't want guys weaving all over the place down the back straightaway, up and down, up and down, up and down. So limiting it to one move, which we didn't see too much of the back and forth weaving on Sunday night with the Majors series. We're starting to see it very, very slowly right here start to creep in as we get to the halfway point here at Indianapolis. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick commercial break. We will be right back. You are watching the 2nd annual Sim Racers Edge Indianapolis 500 right here on ESPN. Don't go anywhere. Big gaggle of cars here down the front straightaway as Jeffrey Bogan somehow goes from nearly losing a position to Chris Simard to gaining a position on Jeffrey Roulette here as we just crossed over into the halfway portion of this race. And in that big battle, there you see two guys that one of them did not want to see together. Nate Siefker and Chris Simard right now running 7th and 8th after that big wad coming out of turn 4 last time around.
Yeah, that was a huge gaggle of cars. And don't look now, as Grandy takes over the lead going into 1. Don't look now, but Butch Davis has just moved into the top 10 as well.
Yeah, Butch Davis battling, again, last year's winner here of this event. His first win in Sim Racer's Edge. As you see Jose Viguera pull out of pit road there in the background. Like to remind you that coming up here on ESPN this weekend, we got a couple of races going on. Nothing tomorrow night. But on Friday night will be the Circle B Diecast Super Speedway Series from Daytona. That will be 2:20 p.m. Eastern, or my goodness, 8:20 p.m. Eastern time. There it is. The final round of the the round of 16 playoff races for the Circle B Diecast Super Speedway Series. Coming up on Saturday afternoon will be the E-Formula 3.5 Series, round 5 from Monza. That'll be at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. Sam Cooper Bennett and I will be in the booth for that one. Then coming up on Sunday night will be the Medieval Racing League from Martinsville. That'll be round 6 for that series. Sam and Byron will be in the booth for that, as well as on Monday night for the first race at COTA, the Circuit of the Americas, for the Rowdy Energy Cup Series. Coming up on Monday night, the 24th, all of those races and much, much more here on ESPN. And for this series, only 2 races left to go until the end of the season. An off week for the first time since the middle of March for this series coming up next week, as Mike Grandy and Bentley Glazer go into pit road. That'll promote Scott Ramler back into the race lead. Then it will be Milwaukee in 2 weeks' time. And then the Season 2 finale at Atlanta Motor Speedway coming up in 3 weeks. And depending upon how tonight goes, last 2 races could be a formality, as Nate Siefker still trying to hunt down Chris Simard. And where these two are right now, Simard will push the championship fight another week.
As of right now, yes, but it's becoming more and more of a moot point. Instead of going after Siefker, he's going to have to defend to maintain that second place in points.
Yep, absolutely. Is Simard not only needs to finish ahead of Nate Siefker, but coming up in 2 weeks' time, he's going to need to hope for another turnout that is very akin to tonight's turnout here if he wants to avoid just a start and you win scenario, which is what it could possibly be, depending upon how close these two finish, which is why Simard being up at the front and Siefker being pinned a lap down in the mid-20s was certainly helpful for Simard as Siefker dives into pit road. Carl Burke there as well. As pit stops well and truly underway here.
Sorry about that.
Yep, as we work lap 109, about to start lap 110. Carl Burke, Nate Siefker. Siefker still sitting in his box unless he's repairing damage.
No, you want to guess what he got popped for?
He got caught for speeding on entry. No.
I'm going to go look right now.
So Nate Siefker is stuck in his pit box. See where he comes out. He's got about another 5 seconds if it is a pit road speeding penalty. Should be coming out of his box right around now.
85
he does.
miles an hour at the cones.
Yep, that's a little rapid. So Nate Siefker now had just gotten into a position to where he could put the championship away and has just given it right back.
Got himself in the foot.
Yeah, that's a direct shot into the foot as well for Nate Siefker as Chad Simpson now takes over the race lead as Scott Ramler and Tyler Vickery come into pit road.
And Nick Vassenar has put it on the hauler for tonight.
It's unfortunate for him as now here comes Simpson and Davis. Again, those two teammates for FBR. And just looking right now, this is not racing related. I don't know if you just got the update to show it. But Corey Kluber has thrown a no-hitter for the Yankees tonight, so that's unfortunate.
Woo!
Marks the first time in Major League history that 2 no-hitters were thrown less than 24 hours apart. The pitcher for Seattle last night threw one as well. It's the 8th no-hitter in the first month and a half for Major League Baseball this year.
Well, I mean, we could talk for hours about things that have been going on. As Davis misses his pit stall.
He must have done big time because he has fallen way back. Coming back out onto the racetrack just in front of Paul Crumry and Will Fletcher. So Davis comes into pit road
43
in
seconds
second,
on pit
and
road.
he's going to come out in 12th. Make it now 14th as Crumry and Fletcher get around him.
There has been, getting back to the other thing that we were just talking about, there's been a lot of chatter going on throughout the sports world in the past couple of months about things that pitchers are doing. And I don't mean beaning batters anymore. There has been a lot of talk of illegal substances being used on the hands. And no team really wants to admit that they're doing it and no manager really wants to kind of blow the whistle on another team's pitcher because just about every pitcher is doing it. And they talk about how fast the ball is rotating once it leaves the hand. And I mean, these guys are going up almost 1,000 RPM on their pitches, not miles an hour, the spin of the ball. And it's just making these balls break almost like a wiffle ball now.
I've heard, just to wrap that up, I've heard as we saw Jose Viguera spin coming off a turn 2 and hit the wall hard. No caution for that, clearly.
Immediately towed, so good on you,
yes.
Jose.
Yep. I've heard so many hitters say they really don't mind if pitchers juice the ball because if that gives them a better grip, it gives them less chance of hitting me, then they're all for it. Now that was quite a few years ago. I heard a lot of hitters saying that. I'm not sure about now. I'm not sure how today's players feel about that. But anyway, getting back to the race here, this looks like a very familiar situation to what we saw not that long ago now, doesn't it? Scott Ramler in the race lead and Nate Siefker fighting for his life to stay on the lead lap.
The first time he got caught up in someone else's dumpster fire, and this time he kind of caused his own.
Yep. So this time, Nate, once again, we had said he was so close to getting to where he needed to be to clinch the championship tonight. And in a way, that's helped him here because otherwise he would be mired well a lap down. However, he has now found himself in a position to where he is once again got the leader on his tail here, working lap 117 of 200. And Tony, I know this isn't something we do too often on the channel here, but I think now would be a halfway decent time to break it out. Want to crank it up for a minute? Yeah, I was just going to say, you want to crank it up for a minute?
Absolutely.
All right, let's crank it up Indy style. Well, it may not have been the greatest, most impactful Crank It Up segment ever, but a little bit of a break for us isn't all that bad, especially after calling 1,000 miles of Indy racing over the course of 4 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Is Will Fletcher taking it pit side?
Will Fletcher into the pits. Johnny Antonucci as well into pit road.
Tyler Vickery filling the rearview mirrors of Jeffrey Roulette right now. Now, we haven't seen a lot of Tyler this season, but he's had some decent success here at the Brickyard.
He certainly has, and always an interesting view with the fan cam. We got to start using that one more often. That fan cam is it's really, really good.
Especially now that iRacing has given us 3D persons in the stands.
Yep, absolutely. It is quite a nice camera, and also that could also be used. Hey, I want to watch a race here. I actually want to attend a race here. Let me jump around a couple of spots, see where I can get some good tickets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get some sightline action.
Great way to do that.
As Mike Grandy gets around Chad Simpson after the second position. Chris Simard, very, very happy to see Nate Siefker where he may not be happy to see Nate Siefker where he is, but very, very happy with the scenario that Nate finds himself in once again. Trying to stay on the lead lap as Simard sits in the 5th position, Nate Siefker in 18th, and that makes Simard's job quite a bit easier going into Milwaukee in 2 weeks' time if this were to stay the way it is.
It makes it a little bit easier, but the one thing he does have to be concerned with is he still has Bentley Glazer in front of him, and Bentley's one of those guys that is still within striking distance of being able to knock Simard out of second place in points.
Right now, taking a look at those points here just for a moment, it's still a 76-point advantage, or a 78-point advantage that Nate has over Chris Simard, but that's quite a big points gap between 5th and 18th no matter what, no matter how you break those standings down. So Samard looking very, very good to break into Siefker's lead and possibly get it down inside the 50s going into Milwaukee. That way he won't need as many people to show up as he goes around Bentley Glazer for fourth.
And that's exactly what Samard needs to do. We're getting into the final push here. Almost 75 laps to go. As a matter of fact, we're at 77 laps to go. And Samard needs to start moving forward, as Grandy has gotten around Simpson, moving him into second place, as right now Scott Ramler is basically just drafting off of Nate Siefker, and he's riding. We've seen him do this before, and that's how he's getting that excellent mileage that he's been getting off these fuel runs. Ramler is pretty much in sixth gear, just cruising right now, letting Nate Siefker punch the hole in the air. He's going in through it behind him and just riding.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike Randy doing the same thing. Now, unlike the last time through a green flag run, the 57 of Ramler does not have the fuel advantage. This time, that goes to Chad Simpson in the 42, as we'll show up our handy-dandy fuel graphic here. Chad Simpson came in on lap 111 to Ramler's 110. Now, that one lap might not seem like a lot, but as Ernie Ludwig found out, it could mean absolutely everything.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and again, that was a heartbreaker that we watched on Sunday. It ran out of fuel in the short chute between turns 3 and 4 and went from the penthouse to the outhouse, basically. And these guys, a lot of these guys watched that race just to kind of see what strategies were working, what different guys were doing pit strategy-wise. And I've heard a lot of chatter this week that these guys, they're going to watch their fuel a lot more closely as the laps start to tick down and look for somebody, to try to play hero in that final money stop.
And looking at guys through this field, Bentley Glazer, Carl Burke, Paul Crumry, Charles Woods, Ron Hollifield, Will Fletcher, and Jackson Bell all ran the Western States race last night. Now, completely different car.
Tell the funny. Tell the funny.
The what?
The funny you told me.
Oh,
there was a driver.
Well, there's a driver that is running in this race tonight. Now, we're not going to mention any names. We're just going to put him on the screen and we'll show a graphic. But somebody was practicing in the IndyCar all day long and then was surprised that the Camping World truck did not have the same turning radius or turning ability as the IndyCar did. And again, we're not going to mention any names. We're just going to leave him up on screen, and you guys can figure out who we're talking about from there. But while all of those guys ran that race last night, there's not a lot you can take from the Camping World truck, which is a rolling brick, versus one of these cars and use it in tonight's race. You can take lines. You can take other somewhat strategy calls as Grandy comes in. But as far as fuel consumption, somewhat similar between last night and tonight. We're seeing these guys getting between 25 and 30 laps here tonight. And the farthest anyone was able to go last night was 31 laps. So there are some slight comparisons that you could take from last night if you were one of the 9 guys that ran last night.
Now, here's the one thing that I'm not 100% certain why it's the case. I mean, we were seeing close to 30 laps able to be done on Sunday with a 75% fuel fill. This series is running an 81% fuel fill, and we're seeing guys come in right around lap 25, 26.
Now, those guys were running custom setups, and as we had mentioned, these guys are running a custom setup as well, but it's a stock custom setup, meaning that all of these drivers are running that same custom setup. The guys on Sunday night were running completely different setups to everyone, to each other. So they had the ability to try to extend that fuel mileage by setups as Bentley Glazer comes into pit road, we just saw off screen. So that's also playing into it, is the fact that those guys could finagle their setups. These guys necessarily can't.
They can't. Well, they can't change the gearing, but they can play with the fuel mapping if they choose to.
Yes.
And they can do what we saw Rambler doing, and that's just putting it in 6th gear and just kind of riding.
That is inconsequential right now for Nate Siefker as he gets past Jose Vigera. Vigera multiple laps down, as I believe Siefker comes into pit road. He will. So the 1 into pit road, Carl Burke into pit road as well in the number 53 VSM Dallara. So that will leave Scott Rambler in the race lead. Chris Simard has gotten around Chad Simpson, so Simard now sits in second and has put a half a second between himself and the 42. So Simard right now, as we get down inside of 70 laps to go, working with 68 to go right now, he's starting to make some moves that we didn't see him make earlier on in this run when he was mired back in 7th and 8th.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Simard is a smart enough driver where he knows when to turn it up and when to not turn it up. He was running behind Jose Vigera there, goes to the inside, makes the pass coming out of 1, and now starts to set his sights on reeling in Rambler, as he's got to put some distance between himself and Simpson, because we are coming up into the penultimate stop, or what should be the penultimate stop, here in the next couple of laps. We're getting very close to, you can make it from here in 2 stops.
Chris Simard's coming into pit road now. He came in on lap 109 last. Jeffrey Rollette's going to follow him in. Scott Rambler currently sits with the race lead, came in on 110. Chad Simpson came in on 111. The guy who sits in 3rd place right now, and this is thanks to the pit cycle, the 24 of Tyler Vickery also came in on lap 110. So he and Rambler working on very similar strategies, as Jeffrey Bogan comes out and splits Simpson and Vickery. But a very good run for Tyler. Missed that wreck on lap 2. He's had a very solid run in that 24 after making a season debut at Mid-Ohio. Making his season debut at Mid-Ohio. We did not see him at all this season until last week, where he ran his 2nd race, and now tonight making his 3rd appearance of the season.
And the other thing to know about Tyler Vickery, student in media communications at Full Sail University, and rookie at Five Flags this season.
Oh, very
in the real
good.
world.
Oh, congratulations, Tyler. Very good. I did not know that. It's been a while since we've had Tyler in the booth. Remember, he was calling races with us last season as he comes into pit road now. It's been a while since we've had Tyler up in the booth with us for one of these races. Haven't talked to him much recently. Last I knew at least, he was going to the Dan Patrick School of Broadcasting.
Which is the Full Sail at Full Sail University.
Mm-hmm.
Which coincidentally is also where a certain professional wrestling organization, shall we say, air quotes, hosts its in-studio television shows.
Yep, as now Scott Rambler comes into pit road from the race lead. Yeah, the last I heard, Tyler was doing a lot of work at New Smyrna.
Or New Smyrna, that's where it was.
Yeah.
He's a rookie at New Smyrna.
He was doing
that one in Five Flags confused.
During last year, he was doing a lot of work at New Smyrna as far as talking to drivers and getting interviews and basically doing his schoolwork. And
Well, he got hooked up with a team owner, and he's going to be competing in a few races this season.
That's how you do it sometimes, man.
Absolutely. As Simpson stays out yet another lap.
Yep, Simpson out, and he will come in now. So Simpson will hold that one-lap fuel advantage over Scott Ramler right now, who is coming out of pit road. There is Nate Siefker, so Ramler will stay. So Siefker will stay on the lead lap, at least for the moment, as Siefker touches the wall coming down the back straightaway. Now the question will be is we'll throw the track map up for the first time tonight. You see that red number 42 that's kind of dulled out there on the bottom right, of the track map. See where he comes out in relation to the 57. He is going to come out well behind. It looks like as there he is on the apron there on the access road, and Ramler back to the race lead.
Ramler back to the race lead, and he's got a major gap between himself and Chad Simpson, who comes out in front of Mike Grandy. Grandy leading that freight train behind him of Grandy, Glazer, Simard, and Roulette, and Vickery's in that group as well. And Carl Burke in 8th is the caboose of that one. There's about a 5.5-second gap all the way back to Butch Davis, who runs in 9th.
It's a battle for the third position here between all those guys that you had just mentioned, the 5 guys on screen. There they all are right there. Grandy, Glazer, Simard, Roulette, and Vickery, and those guys, Simard coming out quite a bit further behind than where he came in, unfortunately for him, and doubly unfortunately, shy by about 5 laps on Simard and on Simpson and Ramler. So unless he can pull out a worldly fuel strategy here, this might not be a race win. Simard is looking at more or less just a
survive.
Good finish.
I mean, it's still early. There's still a lot of racing left to do. It's going to be real close the next time these guys come into pit under green. You can almost make it from there. Ramler and Simpson, again, like you said, they're in the best situation to be able to do so. It's going to be a big stretch for Mike Grandy, Bentley Glazer, Chris Simard, and Jeff Roulette. If they run this fuel tank smart, they should be able to make it on one more stop.
Will Fletcher has had an incident coming out of turn 4, and there's his collision. We'll try to get a better view of it there. We kind of caught it in action. Goes sliding through turn 2. Wow, that's a hard hit in a spot where you don't want to be hitting. Right on board, wall straight out. Fortunately, it's a protected wall. Fletcher gets that car off the track immediately and then tows it. So Fletcher done for the evening because he had used his fast repair because of the lap 2 incident. So Fletcher done for the night. It also looks like Jose Viguera has had a problem as well. We'll take a look and see what happened to Viguera. This is also coming out of turn 2. Running the middle, back end comes out. Oh,
with what Fletcher did, it's what we've seen time and time again, where guys have just gone too low, in the middle of the corner, and the back end just washes out. The one that Jose had looked like he may have had the either the weight jacker or the sway bar just not adjusted right.
Now, and if this were iRacing control, that would have been a caution, no doubt about it. But because of the fine work that Chris Walker's been doing in the stewards booth tonight, we stay green here. Only 3 cautions have flown here tonight at Indianapolis. Lap 2, lap 18, and I believe, if I remember correctly, lap 82.
Yes.
We have been green the rest of the way here tonight. As for those of you who are just joining us, that is Nate Siefker leading Scott Ramler. However, Ramler is the race leader. Nate Siefker was involved in that accident on lap 2. Took his fast repair, got caught a lap down because he had towed back to pit road. Got his lap back on that lap 82 caution. Got back up into 5th. The next green flag pit stop cycle started and was caught speeding on pit road. That put him right back in the position that he was in prior to the lap 82 caution. So Siefker battling to stay on the lead lap in front of Scott Ramler. Chris Simard, who he is battling with for the championship. Simard is running in 5th right now, and this is about the lowest that he has been all race long, trying to get around Mike Grandy for the 4th spot as this group of 5, or 6 rather, tries to catch back up to 1 and 2, Ramler and Simpson.
Yeah, absolutely. Glazer made the pass a couple of laps ago to get by Grandy, who was sitting in 3rd. It started to stretch his legs a little bit to try to pull this freight train up towards the front 2, as Simpson's kind of riding right now. Grandy, though, has his rearview mirrors filled with that Pennzoil 77 of Chris Simard. Jeffrey Roulette just kind of biding his time right now, as Simard running about a half a car width lower in the corners than Grandy is. Now, there's about a 5-lap difference on their tires. So, again, like we were talking about a couple laps ago, if they run this tank smart, Grandy's about the only one that's going to need to really make 2 more stops. Everybody else should be able to one-stop it from here as this tank of fuel starts to burn off.
We see the graphic on screen right now. Of the drivers in the top 5, Mike Grandy came in the earliest on lap 129. Chad Simpson came in the latest on lap 138. So a 9-lap difference just in the top 5. And from my best estimate from what we've seen tonight and from what we saw on Sunday night, I would say if you can get to about lap 170 to 172, you should be good to go.
And again, it all comes down to how well can you baby this tank of go fast. You've got to, this tank is what's going to set you up for your final run.
And that's what these guys are focusing on right now, is fuel conservation. And right now, I think Tony and I are going to focus on a little bit of voice conservation. We are 3/4 distance gone when we return. Sorry, just had to sure you guys saw that. We are 3/4 distance gone here as Scott Ramler crosses the line to take the 150 lap of 200 mark here at Indianapolis. Scott Ramler leads, Chad Simpson second, Bentley Glazer, Mike Grandy, and Chris Simard round out the top 5. You are watching the 2nd annual Sim Racers Edge Indianapolis 500 right here on ESPN. Don't go anywhere. from high above the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and now being blocked by the infield grandstands. You are watching the second annual Sim Racers Edge Indianapolis 500. You just saw Nate Siefker jump into pit road. Chris Simard is down and away, is in pit road himself. So the two championship contenders are in the pit lane with each other. During the break, you saw Bentley Glazer come down pit road. He had brought, who was it, Mike Grandy with him. These guys here, from what we saw, as
Caution.
Ron Holifield goes around, the caution is out as Holifield stopped in the middle of turn one.
Wow, that's going to play into Samard's hands.
Absolutely, and I don't think Siefker is going to get the benefit of this one because he had gone a lap down by going into pit road the way when he did. So here comes Holifield out of pit road, clips the grass on the inside and comes up across the racetrack. And that is what causes that caution. Wow, Charles Woods almost T-boned him. And Nate might not be in the best of positions here because the second he came into pit road, he was a lap down. The question is, who was a lap down in front of him? And I believe if we go by what I just saw, I think Kevin O'Brien in the 84 is going to be the recipient of the free pass.
Yeah, because you had Kevin O'Brien, Paul Crumry, Tim Bates, Tyler Bloom, all in front of Nate Siefker after they made their pit stops. The biggest gainers out of all of this are going to be Chris Simard, Bentley Glazer, and Mike Grandy, who had they were getting ready to go a lap down.
Chris Simard was just leaving his pit box when the caution came out. Scott Ramler now brings everybody down into pit road. And for Nate, this is going to be a disaster because actually no, yes, it will be a disaster because Mike Grandy decides to stay out, at least for the moment. Grandy has decided to stay out, and if he does, Nate, I think, is going to be trapped behind Grandy, which means Nate is not going to get the benefit of the free pass. However, with where Grandy is falling back in line, Nate will get the free pass here.
Maybe.
Probably should have been focusing on the race off of pit road. Scott Ramler does win that race off of pit road. So there is Nate Siefker in the 1. There is Mike Grandy, center screen in the 12.
So, yeah, O'Brien got the free pass. Crumry, Bates, and Tyler Bloom and Nate Siefker are all going to get the wave around
Charles
for
Woods
being
as
in front
well.
of the leader.
Yep, Charles Woods as well. So Nate does get his lap back, and boy, as I said, he'll have about 40 laps to get up and actually fight for this race win.
What a race. I mean, this has just been... I mean, there's storylines all throughout this thing.
Absolutely.
As far as, guys that are trying to stretch the fuel mileage as far as they can get it to go. Now, the bad news is you cannot make it from here.
No one can make it from here.
We are going to see at least one more pit stop from everybody in the field. Mike Grandy currently with 4 laps on his fuel tank, unfortunately, is probably going to be the first one to come down pit road. Now, Chris Simard, just like Nate Siefker, had just exited the pits when the caution came out. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out, especially with there being, Scott Rambler, Chad Simpson, Tyler Vickery, Carl Burke, Jeff Roulette, Jeff Bogan, Dan Brazelton, and Bentley Glazer, rounding out your top 10, starting directly behind them.
Absolutely. And I think, as I said, he'll have about 40 laps to get up and actually fight for this race win. So there is Nate Siefker in the 1. There is Mike Grandy, center screen in the 12. So here comes Holifield out of pit road. He was a lap down in front of Holifield. The second he came into pit road, he was a lap down. And that is what causes that caution. Wow, Charles Woods almost T-boned him. And After the first round of green flag pit stops had come and gone, this is the closest that Chris Simard has been to the race lead since then. Especially when that caution came out on lap 81. Simard has been mired back in the middle of the top 10, hovering around that 8th and 5th position range. And now has found himself in a position to where he can win not just the second annual Indianapolis 500, but his second race consecutively. And with Nate mired back in 16th for the start of this this final run, or what we hope is this final run, this could be a huge race still for Chris Simard as far as his championship hopes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you'll notice that there is a car between Simard and Ramler. That is the lap car, Johnny Antonucci, who is doing the sportsmanlike thing and giving Ramler a shot at the outside of him, because you can't pass to the inside until the start-finish line in iRacing.
Yep.
So,
Antonucci
doing the sportsmanlike thing.
Antonucci going down into pit road as we go back to green flag racing here. Grandy and Simard, 1 and 2, about a half a second between Ramler and these front two, as now Simard immediately, you knew it was coming. Chris Simard immediately goes to the race lead in that number 77. Scott Ramler comes right back up to Grandy, or at least is attempting to come right back up to Grandy. As these guys now, they know, there's no doubt about it, they are going to have to come in one more time. May as well push as hard as you possibly can now, because there's no real worth saving.
Yeah, absolutely not. The question is how deep into the you can make it from here zone do you push the fuel tank? We've seen different strategies play out the last couple of times that we've been here. Simard and Grandy, they have some of the oldest fuel on track right now. Grandy with the second most laps after Charles Woods. It's going to be interesting to see how this does play out as the top three start to break away, Simard, Grandy, and Ramler, as Simpson kind of just biding his time in fourth place right now.
Scott Ramler has looked so good in that number 57 all race long. He has looked like a guy who has had full and total control over his machine. Going back in the field, Nate Siefker made up 2 spots on the first lap coming back to green. He is up from 16th to 14th now, looking to Paul Crumry to try to get that 13th spot. Last year's winner of this event, Butch Davis, haven't spoken much about him. Up to 11th spot now, battling Bentley Glazer for 10th, and now has that 10th position. Ever since that incident that we were talking about with Nate and Jackson Bell on lap 2, that 43 really has not been much of a factor here tonight as he takes 9th away from Dan Brazington.
Well, I mean, Butch is a smart driver, and he knows he's already burned his fast repair. It's not time to really, really push it harder yet. We haven't had the money stop where you're going to go 25 laps on that final tank of fuel. We're closing in on that as Grandy throws to the inside of Simard coming across the yard of bricks, and Grandy back to the point as Rambler starts to close in on those two at the front of the field. But, Davis, he's been around long enough, and he's a smart enough driver to know that, when it comes time to push, he can push. And there is the one move, and Simard throws to the inside as Grandy went back up to get in line, and you're allowed one defensive move and one retaliation, and there goes Simard back to the point.
We're getting back to what we saw earlier on tonight with Simard and Simpson, 1 and 2, swapping the lead at either end of the racetrack. Is what we're seeing now up towards the front. Nate Siefker has gotten around Paul Crumry for the 13th position. And boy, he just had a huge moment coming out of turn one.
Wow.
He's going to lose that spot to Crumry now. And again, losing the back end coming out of 2. That number 1 has an issue.
He caught the wall going into the short chute. He caught the wall.
Oh, and he's still wiggling. He has a big problem.
Oh,
Does
yeah,
Nate
there's
Seifker,
broken suspension on that car.
He's got to come in. He is going to come in. And if it is a suspension, around he goes. He just misses the pit wall. Does Nate Seifker. And he will tow it. And if that is a rear suspension broken on that number 1, that is game over for the number 1 of Seifker. And he has the potential. He's in 16th right now. He has the potential to fall as low as 19th position because Bloom, Antonucci, and Hollifield still running right now.
Seifker put it on the hauler.
It's done. So Nate Seifker could fall as low as 19th position here tonight, which means this championship battle will 100% go to Milwaukee. The question is, how far is Chris Simard going to be behind Seifker going into that race at Milwaukee in 2 weeks' time, running in second? He's very close to being able to get max points out of today.
Throws it to the inside going into 3. Grandy has no choice but to let him go. Rambler looking to go with him, not able to make the pass happen in the short chute in between 3 and 4. Looks again, as they go down the front straightaway. That's Rambler right behind Grandy sitting in second place. Grandy having to play defense. That's letting Chris Simard jump out to a decent lead by about a car length and a half as they haul it off into turn 1.
So there's your championship moment tonight right there. Nate Seifker out of this race. He's already fallen back to 17th. He's going to fall back to 18th here on this lap. 19th the next time by as Grandy goes back to the race lead. Grandy, Simard, Rambler, top 3. Then it's about a half a second back to Chad Simpson. Tyler Vickery running in the top 5 position, up 20 positions from where he started. Did not post a qualifying time. Did the 24 of Vickery. Now in a top 5 position, having a fantastic night for him in just his 3rd attempt of the season. Carl Burke 6th. Butch Davis has just gotten around Jeffrey Roulette for the 7th spot. And then it is Jeffrey Bogan and Bentley Glazer in 9th and 10th, rounding out the top 10 here.
As we just saw Simard at the front of the field do it the hard way going through turn 1, back to the point, leads him off of turn number 4. Grandy trying to time his runs just right so he can get to the yard of bricks first if need be. Now these top 3 have just been hammer and tongs, nose to tail, and Chad Simpson just kind of riding right now. Tyler Vickery starting to reel him in a little bit. But, these top 3, you kind of got to wonder who's going to blink first as we are fast approaching the you can make it from here zone.
Mike Grandy, again, of the guys right here in the top 3, Grandy came in on 153. Simard was leaving his pit box when the caution flag came out on lap 155. Scott Rambler came in under the caution on lap 157. So these guys do have a couple of laps difference as far as fuel strategy goes, and Chris Simard has not been the best tonight as far as saving fuel and being able to go the distance. That might not hurt him all that much here.
No, absolutely not. We're within 10 laps of these guys needing to get a fresh tank and go fast. But like you said, Grandy has the oldest fuel out there. Simard has a 2-lap advantage. Rambler has a 4-lap advantage over Grandy. So it's interesting to see. It's going to be fun to see who's going to blink first as we are fast approaching that magic time. As Simard hasn't been the best getting into his pit box either tonight, because we did see him miss it once, and we also saw Rambler miss it once.
Rambler has missed. I believe Grandy had missed earlier on tonight.
Yes.
So all of these guys up here in the top 3 in the podium positions right now have had problems on pit road tonight. As we get set to come down to take lap 173 of 200. Only 4 cautions tonight. And a lot of green flag action. And it has been action-packed all night long here tonight. At Indianapolis, Chris Simard, Mike Grandy, Scott Rambler, Chad Simpson, Tyler Vickery. Right now, your top 5. Carl Burke is starting to get pressured from Butch Davis in the 43. Davis takes a little peek, can't make the move, just ducks back in behind the 53 of Carl Burke. Burke driving for VSM in that powder blue number 53, as you do. Burke having a very solid night right now, running in 6th, started in 12th.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the entire field has just been putting on a complete clinic on how to race the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. No quarter asked for, no quarter given, and like you mentioned, only 4 cautions, and 3 of those were single car incidences of guys just getting one of the 4 corners here wrong and the back end of the car washing out. We only had 1 multi-car incident, and that was on lap 2. Cold tires and, cars getting into aero wash. Other than that, I mean, these guys have been showing exactly what the iRacing server is all about.
Absolutely. As we're getting down inside of 26 laps to go here, we are in the window where these guys can make it from here on fuel and on tires. So pit stops should be coming up here within the next 10 laps or so. From my best estimate, I would say about 10 to 15 laps is the pit window. That'll leave 10 to 15 laps of racing left to go once these guys are all done and cycled out through pit stops.
It's even less than that, as most of these guys have about 20 laps on their fuel tank.
Carl Burke enters pit road. Charles Woods as well coming down into pit road. So the 53 and the 40 decide to take that pit stop now and then let the chips fall where they may later on.
Well, we've seen it work in the past. In Formula One, they call it the undercut, where you can get the fresh rubber up to temperature and up to speed before anyone else. But the only thing you got to remember here is these times aren't falling off all that majorly. The last lap across the yard of bricks for Simard, 41.6, 41.7 for Grandy, 41.6 for Rambler. That's just over half a second off of the best laps that we've seen tonight.
This Rambler now, for the first time, puts Mike Grandy under attack in that second position. We've been seeing Grandy and Simard battle back and forth. This, for the first time, seeing Rambler try to put the pressure on. Rambler unable to make the move, really pushing up high, coming out of turn 4, at least compared to Grandy. It's going to help him a little bit down this straightaway, and just can't quite get the move done going into turn 1. Grandy has the defense of the outside and is able to use that momentum to be able to carry and hold that position.
Yeah, early on, that outside lane was just out to lunch, but there's been enough guys that have had to run out there that they've got a decent amount of rubber laid out up there in that second lane that you can make that second lane work for you if you know how to work it. The only thing is, you don't want to get too much higher than Mike Grandy is right now, because this track is notorious for marbles, and Rambler's in.
So Scott Rambler will come into pit with 23 laps to go. The guy who has been the best on fuel and tires is the first one to blink here to make the money stop. Now, Rambler came in on lap 157 under the caution flag, so he certainly has enough fuel to go quite a long distance as it sits right now. But with how good Rambler has been, Could this be the early start to the pit cycle we were expecting?
Well, we're about to find out as they're working their way through turn 4. We're going to see if there's going to be any takers this time. And it looks like, yep, there we go. Simard and Grandy both in.
So Simard and Grandy both covering off the early pit stop by Scott Ramler. Ramler coming out of the turn 2 access road. He is now sprung free. Chris Simard still has not gotten to his pit box just yet. We'll throw the track map back up. There's the 57 on the far left side of the track map. Look for the 77 at the bottom. And that will be your battle for the race lead. Simard down and away. Grandy down and away. The 57 is starting to catch up. Doesn't quite look like he's going to be there in enough time. There's Ramler coming at full speed. Here is Simard and Grandy coming down the access road. Ramler does have the speed advantage. He'll get Grandy, but he will not get Simard, at least for the moment. He's got him now.
Had to do it the hard way, going around the outside of Simard, as Simard can now use him as a drafting partner and try to get away from Grandy.
Boy, and Ramler.
So essentially, that's your race lead, because everybody else still has to make their stop.
Yep, so you're right. This is the battle for the race lead right now, and it's a battle effectively for 8th on the racetrack right now as Simard now retakes it. Now it's going to become a battle of the early stop versus the late stop as Chad Simpson has decided to stay out. It looks as though he's going to play the long game, run this fuel tank dry, and then take a shorter stop, hoping that that might be the key to victory here today.
Well, he's probably hoping for a caution, as Dan Brazington brings it pit side.
So that will promote the Ramler, Simard, Grandy battle up to 7th, 8th, and 9th. Johnny Antonucci, you see at the bottom of your screen, bringing it in. Tyler Vickery, Butch Davis, Jeffrey Bogan decides to peel off from the front group and come in. Bentley Glazer getting around Jeffrey Bogan. That promotes him up into 7th. Butch Davis hits the wall coming out of pit road. He has spun it off on the access road. Butch Davis, last year's winner of this event, out and crashed.
And that's going to be his
night
night
because he had to burn his fast repair
early.
Yep, it was on the front straightaway where he had his issue. We'll take a look and see here. Oh, he hit, wow. He was in the wall on the outside, and then when he finally was able to peel that car off the wall on the outside, it darted him right into the inside wall.
You hate to see that for a defending race champion.
And Butch Davis, as we had mentioned, really had not had any form of success after that lap 2 incident. Has now ended it with 17 laps to go. Still Simpson and Vickery running 1 and 2. Jeffrey Roulette, as now Vickery will pull off. He will come into pit road. Roulette in as well. Bentley Glazer comes into pit road. So Chad Simpson has committed to this longer stint here. Benefit of that, again, he's not going to spend as much time stopped in the pit box trying to get fuel.
Well, the thing was, Simpson was just kind of riding in 4th place during that previous fuel tank.
Yep.
And that's what I was saying. It was the penultimate tank that was really going to lead to, when you needed to come down pit road. The only thing is, he doesn't have a big enough gap between himself and
Ramler as he's coming in now.
Yeah.
So Simpson is in pit road. Tyler Vickery coming out. There's the battle for the race lead, just passing him by. Boy, not really passing him by, as they were almost 3 wide there for a second. Ramler going for the race lead. Chris Simard right now in the 2nd spot. Tyler Vickery has had one heck of a night, up to 3rd.
I got him in 4th.
Well, effective third when they pass Simpson, who's coming out of pit road here.
Right. He was able to slot in between Rambler and Grandy as Simpson down and away trying to get up to speed.
Simpson 2 seconds faster in the box as compared to everybody else, and Simpson is going to come out with the race lead here, and quite a hefty race lead as well.
2 seconds to the good.
With a drafting partner as well at Tyler Bloom, so he's not running all alone. Now this pack has 15 laps to catch up to him, and they most certainly will. But still, Chad Simpson might have pulled off a worldie again. We saw him do it in his debut. He has been the magic man as far as the pit cycles are concerned.
Well, we heard Butch Davis say previously that Chad Simpson is one of the specialists when it comes to fuel mileage and pit strategies like that. As
somebody put him on
Rambler
a pit box.
and Samard try to pick down on that draft, almost 3 wide. Wow. Mike Grandy thinking better of it, though.
Rambler pushed Samard all the way down and kept him down there. Going into turn 3, they both make it through fine. But Samard right now just barely beating out Rambler. And this is a situation where right now you got to focus on a couple of things. One, yes, I want to be in front of this group. Yes, I want the race lead, but we also have to gain 2 seconds on the guy in front who's not racing with anyone. So do you run in single file just to catch up to Simpson and then get battling? Or do you try to focus on this battle and hope you catch him in the process?
Apparently they're going to focus on the battle and hope they catch him. They are catching him, but they're not catching him as fast as they could be, as we are quickly approaching 10 to go.
Yep, we'll take a look at what Simpson did this last lap. Simpson with a 41.78. Rambler hit a 41.4. And I'm surprised Simpson is passing Tyler Bloom here. I'm stunned by that.
Well,
he's not necessarily holding him up.
Can play blocker for him.
That is one way you can think of it.
Bloom's not giving it up, though.
No, that outside line is not working right now for Simpson as Bloom is able to hold that inside. And that has allowed Scott Rambler right up to this pair. So Rambler now is in with a shout for the race lead. One thing I will say, as Tyler Vickery has gotten around Mike Grandy, Tyler Bloom for VSM, for Voodoo Racing, Mike Grandy was in this battle for the lead. Could he have been playing blocker, trying to back Simpson up to give Grandy a chance at this?
That's a good possibility. But the thing to remember is they've got the 2 teammates for VSM running nose to tail right now in 3rd and 4th. That's Chris Samard in the 77, Tyler Vickery in the 24. Wow.
3 wide Rambler, 3 wide Scott Rambler goes to the lead, and Chad Simpson is still stuck behind Tyler Bloom. What a move from Scott Rambler.
With 10 laps to go, it's time to put him up on the dash, and Scott Rambler just said, yeah, go ahead and match these, boys.
Yep, absolutely. And now Bloom is going back at Rambler for the lap back, and he gets it. So Tyler Bloom showing he's not a slouch. And you're right, Samard has caught Simpson. Tyler Vickery there as well, as Grandy has completely fallen off the face of the earth. He's allowed Bentley Glazer and Carl Burke around him. Grandy was just in 4th. He's now fallen to 7th.
Absolutely. Is Tyler Bloom just not giving an inch right now. Chris Samard, I'm thinking, might have backed off just a tick. He knows he's got a good points night with Seeker finishing 19.
Could have a better one, though, with 2 races left.
Oh, yeah.
You want to limit the amount of people, because if it were to have been the absolute minimum, if Samard were to have done the absolute minimum here tonight, he would need another show like tonight. He would need another 27 to 28 people to show up at Milwaukee in 2 weeks. If he can win tonight, and with Siefker mired finishing down in 19th at DNF and his drop week already taken up, this could be this could be the difference between, 15 people and 25 people showing up at Milwaukee if he could take the win here tonight.
You're absolutely right. As finally Tyler Bloom starts to back it down a little bit, got it a little squirrely coming down the back straightaway. You now have Rambler, Simpson, Samard nose to tail right now. Bentley Glazer's gotten by Tyler Vickery for 4th place, and he's starting to reel these guys in as we are 7 to go.
Yep, Simpson just takes the race lead. Rambler takes it back. Rambler sideways coming out of turn 2. Rambler spins backwards, doesn't hit anything.
Yellow's out.
And the caution comes out with 7 laps to go as Rambler just got a little too low. Same thing we saw happen to Jackson Bell on lap 81.
And you hate to see that, especially this late in a race. But you got to wonder who's got the best short run car right now, because we're at lap 195 of 200. We should get a green-white checker, a natural green-white checker out of this. Green flag with one or 2 laps to go. Chad Simpson, Chris Samard, Bentley Glazer, all going to be looking for the restarts of their careers.
Absolutely, and you saw there on the replay, on both of the replays and the overhead one as well, that was not a case of Simpson pinching Rambler a little too far. You could have parked a city bus in the gap that Simpson had left Rambler on that inside line. Rambler just caught those rumble strips and it sent that car around. But you're right, we're in a situation to where we could have about 3 laps to go. And again, no green-white checkers in this series. It is 200 laps, and that is it. We saw that here last year.
Yeah, absolutely. We could see a natural green-white checker.
Yes, but as far as extending the race,
green and white at the same time coming out, should we go back to green?
Yes, but as far as
no overtime.
Yeah, exactly. As far as extending past the 200, that will not happen.
No.
So everybody stays out at the front of the field. Guys that are laps down and Scott Rambler at the back of the field. So this might be a quick yellow here. We might get the green flag with 3 to go.
Top 10 all stayed out.
Yep. Bates, Woods, Rambler, Hollifield in pit road. Butch Davis still showing as in pit road. There goes Kevin O'Brien. He will get his lap back. And with no other wave arounds, I don't see why we couldn't go back to green with 3 to go.
We're about to see what's going to happen. It all depends on what happens the next time across the yard of bricks.
Yep, so we'll get a good so hopefully we'll get a good 3 laps of racing in. Boy, what a night we have had, and what a 4 days at Indianapolis we've had. The Majors race was absolutely incredible on Sunday night. Last night for Western States was an incredible night. 64 laps of complete green flag racing. And then tonight, there's just been action all over the place. You have the championship battle also that has meant so much to these guys, and it's going to continue into Milwaukee. We know that. But Chris Samard is one position away from limiting the damage, or limiting his work, minimizing his work that he has to do at Milwaukee as much as he possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Samard did not have the greatest start to the season, but he's definitely shown that he is championship caliber in these last handful of races as the lights go out on the pace car.
So we will go back to green flag racing with 3 to go. So it'll be a green, white checkered here at Indianapolis, and hopefully, unlike last year, we'll be able to get this race finished under green.
I was about to say that's how Butch Davis ended up winning last season. Is Seifker spun with I believe
spun
3
right
to
behind
go.
him.
Spun right behind Butch Davis with 3 to go. Yellow came out, race over.
Yep.
However, Chad Simpson has to hang on for 12 and a half miles.
Yep.
7.5. Why did I say 12? 7.5 miles.
Chad Simpson looking for his 3rd win in 5 races with Sim Racer's Edge. Chris Simard looking for his 2nd win in a row and for a points championship. Bentley Glazer looking to go 3 for 3 on the week, having won the Rowdy Energy Cup Series race on Monday, the Western States race last night, and now trying to win tonight. Tyler Vickery will restart in 4th, looking for his 1st win in Sim Racer's Edge in only his 3rd race this season. Mike Grandy also looking for his 1st win in Sim Racer's Edge will round out the top 5. Pace car takes the low line off of turn 4. The hard left turn. Simpson can go when he pleases. Simard has to be ready. Green flag is coming out. We will take the green flag with 3 laps to go. Simard all over Simpson and Glazer as well.
Grandy got a great restart, throws it to the inside of Vickery.
Oh, big wreck in the back. Vickery hard into the wall. Caution is out, and that will do it. Vickery hard into the wall. With Carl Burke, Bentley Glazer, I think, might have had an issue as well. No.
Burke caught a piece of it.
Glazer blinked?
Yeah.
So we'll see if Glazer can get back to it. Oh, no, Bentley Glazer's around in turn 3.
Yeah.
What happened there? He's all the way at the other end of the track. Now he'll be allowed to get his position back, so he will be able to go up to back up to P3. Let's take a look at what happened going into turn 1 with 3 to go. And boy, that's a hard hit for Vickery.
He caught the grass going into 1.
We'll take a look at it here. This is from the restart. Tyler Vickery is going to be the 4th car in line. Boy, everybody in that top 5 got a great restart. We'll see what happens with Vickery here. Yup, you're right. Clipped the rumble strips, went around. And boy, Burke and Grandy had nowhere to go. And that is how this Indianapolis 500 will end. Coming across the line, that is the white flag in the air. And for the 2nd year in a row, FBR stands on the top step of the podium at the Indianapolis 500. And for Chris Simard, it wasn't the ultimate, but this was the best possible result that he could have had coming out of tonight.
I mean, you couldn't ask for much more. Started outside of row number 1, finished 2nd place, was actually battling for the lead when that caution came out. He had just thrown it to the inside of Chad Simpson, and Simpson got him by less than half a car length, when the caution flew. So, I mean, it's mild heartbreak, but all things considered, it was a great points night.
Now, Glazer is not being allowed to get his position back. And this is why. This is what's happened to Bentley Glazer. He had a big lag spike. And then by the time we picked him back up again, he was spun sideways in turn 3. So for whatever happened there, Glazer, unfortunately, is going to go from a 3rd place finish to an 11th place finish, all because of an internet lag spike.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean,
That is heartbreaking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So as the field comes off of turn number 4, for the final time here tonight, for the 2nd year in a row, the Sim Racers Edge Indy 500 ends under caution, and it ends with FBR Motorsports on the top step of the podium as Chad Simpson wins the 2nd annual Indianapolis 500. Fuel strategy, a great call to pit later than everybody else, got him out front, was able to fight and was able to stay up there. Chris Simard comes home 2nd. Jeffrey Bogan, with the mistake by Bentley Glazer under the caution, comes home 3rd. But what a night and what a 4 days we've had from Indianapolis.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't ask for much more excitement than we've seen in the last 1,060 miles.
It has been absolutely unbelievable every single step of the way. And in just a moment, we will try to get Chad Simpson in here as quickly as we possibly can, as I actually don't think I don't see him here.
He's not in. Hold on, I'll be right back.
I was thinking
User left
we'll
your
try
channel.
we'll try to figure that out here, and if it takes an exorbitant amount of time, we'll go from 3rd to 1st.
User joined your channel.
As we usually do. So we will try to get Chad into the chat here.
Just need him to log in.
Yep. So what is it? Third win in 5 races, or 3rd win in 6?
3rd and 6.
So a great run for Simpson and a great run for FBR Motorsports, as you see the 3 cars there joining the parade lap.
User left your channel.
As FBR Motorsports as a team takes
User
their
joined your
victory
channel.
lap, and that's a cool shot.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, whenever you see teammates, are able to celebrate with each other, that's something you always love to see.
User was moved to your channel.
As we do that, Tony, I believe you are with our Indy 500 winner, Chad Simpson.
Chad Simpson, you made it happen when it counted. Just perfect on the money stop. Timed it just right. Made it happen. We're able to stick with the lead when all hell broke loose behind you on that final restart. Congratulations on winning the Sim Racers Edge 2nd Indy 500.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop here real quick and do a few donuts. Thanks. That was an interesting race. Here we go. Let's do some donuts. So that last stop, I didn't take tires, and I was hoping to be able to build up a gap to the leaders and be able to drive away. And when that yellow came out, I wasn't sure it was a good idea. I ended up having to race against Bloom, like fighting to stay on the lead lap, and he cost me a lot of time and made those guys catch back up to me. So I thought that strategy was dead, but we got the yellow. I got the restart. I had a plan on the restart, but it didn't. It ended up working out.
How big of an advantage was clean air, especially on the older tires?
It was big at the end. The track temp got up pretty hot, so if you could run full fuel, and keep clean air, you'd be able to build a gap, I think. Most of the race, again, I spent fuel saving, so I'm not exactly sure how things would have gone in clean air.
Well, you were able to get 3 more laps than anyone else was able to get out of that tank of fuel on the second to the last tank just before the money stop. Is it safe to assume that you were using sixth gear quite a bit and just kind of sitting and riding?
I was running map 5, just saving behind them, and you have to lift a lot in dirty air, so you're saving a lot by lifting every time. And there was at one point a fuel number that I was trying to hit, but it was just not quite there, so I had to abandon that.
Well, Chad, you've had an amazing season so far. I would have loved to have seen what you would have been able to do had you started at the beginning of the season with these guys, as you just marked your 4th win in 6 races. Third win in 6 races with the Sim Racer's Edge. I mean, just talk us through what you're looking forward to next season.
Looking forward to a few changes that the league has in store that I think are going to improve the racing some, and hopefully getting a full season. I'll be in the points battle. My call today was basically I'm not racing for points, so I'm racing for wins. I didn't care if I ended up losing from it, so it kind of opens the door for me to make some more risky calls like that, but it'd be nice to be racing for a championship too.
Well, when we have next week off, talk us through your thoughts going in 2 weeks from now when we go to one of the most historic tracks other than Indianapolis with the Indy cars. Of course, we are talking about the Milwaukee Mile.
Yeah, Milwaukee's going to be tough. It's got bad, dirty air there, so track position will be key.
And it's not the easiest pit road to get on and off of either.
No, it's not.
All right. Well, Chad, before we let you go, is there anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, I want to thank Butch for helping me through this race. My guys at Satellite Racing, Virtual Racing School, FBR Motorsports. We're not done for the week. We're still going for the top split broadcast 500 on Saturday. Last I knew I was in like 20th place or 21st place in qualifying. We're still looking for some time there, so hopefully we can make that race and do something good for Satellite on Saturday.
All right. Well, Chad, best of luck to you on Saturday. We're looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks at Milwaukee.
Thanks, guys. See you then.
User was moved out of your
So
channel.
that was your race
User was
winner
moved to your
tonight here,
channel.
Chad Simpson. And we'll go now to our second place finisher. That would be Chris Simard. And Chris, with everything that happened tonight with Nate, you were in a spot all night long to where you had to have been feeling good really from start to finish, and then to see him retire, that had to have been the best feeling short of winning this race.
Yeah, I would have lied if I said I hated to see Nate crash there, but it helps me out in the points definitely. But I wanted to win this race so bad. I almost did. I got underneath Chad there, and the caution came out, so it was a little bummer. But all in all, it was a great race. So.
Yeah, and this a great race for you, and you're right. Of course, you want to win the race, but thinking bigger picture, that points championship, it was 78 coming into tonight. You now not only finished ahead of Nate, you finished about as far ahead as you possibly could have. Talk us through going into Milwaukee, what kind of mindset that puts you in now, knowing that Nate has DNF'd the last 2 races. You finished first and second in the last 2. You have all the momentum. He doesn't, but you also have a big points gap to try to overcome in 2 races.
Well, I always thought that Nate was an alien and he didn't make mistakes, and maybe I'm putting the pressure on him a little bit. I mean, I'm pretty far behind, but I'm taking it one race at a time, man. It's just these last 2 races were awesome. So I don't know what the point standings will be, 50-something points, 60 points, whatever.
61.
61. Well, I still get a shot, so I'm happy about that. It's not over yet, so
No, it's
I
absolutely not.
I guess
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I need like the next race. I need like 30 or 35 drivers, something like that. That'd be nice.
Yeah, it
Make it
would be.
interesting.
It would be, and certainly with where you finished as compared to where he finished tonight, it certainly helped in that regard. You don't need as many drivers now. Being 61 points out, it's also not a well start and the championship is over scenario either. But going into Milwaukee, it's a very difficult racetrack. You've been to another track like Milwaukee this year. Gateway only had a couple of cautions there. What are your thoughts and expectations going into the Milwaukee Mile in 2 weeks' time?
Well, Gateway, I was pretty fast and I screwed up on pit road, so I hope I don't make that mistake again at Milwaukee. But I know it's a mile track. It's not really a short track, but it kind of drives like one. So I love those types of tracks. They're my bread and butter pretty much. So I just got to start out front and stay out front. That's all I can do. In the last 2 weeks, I've been doing pretty good at qualifying. So
Yeah,
I can't,
absolutely.
I can't let up. I don't like driving like this, but I have to. So
Yeah, first place qualifying, first place finish last week, second place qualifying, second place finish here this week. Anyone you want to thank before we let you go and celebrate a second place finish?
I'd like to thank you guys up in the booth. You guys do a great job as always. All of our league sponsors for SRE, they help us out immensely. And my teammates and my wife and son.
All right, there's your second place finisher here tonight, Chris Simard. Sir, congratulations, bud.
Thank you, sir.
So
User
with
was
that,
moved
we
out
will
of your
now
channel.
go
User was moved to your channel.
to our third place finisher here tonight, Jeffrey Bogan, coming home in third, and Tony is with him now.
Jeffrey Bogan, congratulations on putting on the podium here at the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway. More importantly, congratulations on gaining 3 spots in the championship point standings, putting you only 17 points behind Jeffrey Roulette going into the final 2 races of the season.
Heck yeah, boys. That's what we're trying to do. We've got our eye on that third place spot. So got a little bit lucky tonight. So we'll take it. We'll move on to the next one. Try to catch Jeffrey there. He's been tough out there.
Well, you were able to get him by 1 spot tonight, but talk us through that final restart. You almost had calamity happen.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody kind of started. I know the leader held us down till the green came out. Kind of went. I don't know if Jeff slipped a little bit, or if there was something in front of him, but I almost rear-ended him, and kind of fortunately it forced me out to the side, and I was able to get around him. And coming through the turns, that's where calamity definitely broke out. I know I probably gained maybe 4 spots going through that. It was just the luck of the draw. I happened to be on the low line, and everything went up to the wall. So I'll have to catch the replay on that. It was pretty dicey. Little pucker up moment there on the sim.
Well, especially towards the end of the race, how slick did this track get with almost 120-degree track temperature?
It was definitely slick out there. Your tires maybe had a good 10, 12 laps before you really had to mind your P's and Q's if you're trying to get around anybody. Wasn't awful though. Had you went out there and you kind of tested prior, you'd kind of get a feel for that. I tried to get as many fuel runs in practice, just kind of see what the car's doing.
Well, we were kind of watching the different fuel strategies start to play out when we had those long green flag runs. How taxing was that to try to keep in mind what you needed to do to hit your fuel numbers?
I was looking at it just past halfway to kind of see where everything would line up, and I guess we had a caution there, threw everything out the window. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I was looking at it, but I was kind of in between, or I needed. I think we were at 16 laps or something along that, followed by another fuel long run. So, yeah, I was looking at it. A lot of guys are a lot better at doing that than I am. So, and I was solo tonight. I didn't have anybody to bounce anything off of.
Yeah, I did see that most of your FBR teammates, or sorry, Riding Dirty teammates, kind of bailed on you. I mean, Timmy Bates was here, but he was struggling all night long, and Brett Beasley just did not show. So, talk us through your thoughts going into Milwaukee in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. It's a place I've never been. You know, it's I guess it's a mile short track. Anything can go down there. I'm really excited to get in there. I got Jeffrey in front of me, and I'm sure I got a giant pack of people right behind me. So it's going to be a good time, guys.
Absolutely. Jeff, is there anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
Oh, absolutely. I think this is the third or fourth time. I need to thank my sons, Tyrus and Caden. Every morning or afternoon after I see them, they're always asking how everything went. So, boys, got the podium. I also like to thank my brother John. Thank you guys in the booth, the admins. Definitely want to throw a huge shout out to Butch. He hooked it up with my special Earnhardt paint scheme tonight. I absolutely loved it. And so we're for one for one on podiums with the new paint scheme, boys.
Well, Jeff Bogan, again, congratulations on the podium. Looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks at
Yes,
Milwaukee.
Sir. Thanks, gents.
User was moved out of your channel.
So that was your third place finisher here tonight, Jeffrey Bogan, and you saw while he was doing the interview there, you saw his view of that last incident. And Tony, just an incredible night, side-by-side racing, something we didn't necessarily see on Sunday night. Actually got out of here a little bit sooner, a little bit quicker than that we did on Sunday night. So all in all, a very good night and a very good week of racing here at Indy.
Well, that's the thing with Sim Racer's Edge. I mean, we've come to expect that, you know, these guys are going to put on a very talented show week in and week out, no matter where we go. You know, there's a couple times where I kind of cringed when I was looking at the schedule, but these guys have pleasantly surprised me every time I've started to cringe. And after what we saw Sunday night, I was thinking, okay, 7 cautions, not bad. You know, a little over 2 hours for the broadcast, cool, no problem. We got out of here in just over 1 hour and 55 minutes.
Yeah, that was we got out of here. Yeah, this is about an hour quicker. My goodness, than the major series. So a very, very good night of racing from Indianapolis for Sim Racers Edge. We'll take a look now at the final results here for tonight's race. It's Chad Simpson winning his third race in 6 starts, a 500 record for Chad Simpson. Chris Simard and Jeffrey Bogan come home in the podium positions. Jeffrey Roulette, Paul Crumry round out the top 5. A very good run for the 3. Actually, both Earnhardt tribute schemes finishing in the top 5 tonight.
Nice.
Dan Brazington, Tim Bates, Charles Woods, Scott Ramler, and Kevin O'Brien round out the top 10. Bentley Glazer with his issue after the caution flag, the final caution flag that flew, gets demoted from 3rd to 11th. The last car on the lead lap. Tyler Bloom, Mike Grandy, Tyler Vickery, and Carl Burke round out the remainder of the top 15.
Johnny Antonucci coming home in 16th. Ron Holyfield hanging on for 17th. Butch Davis, not the night he was hoping for, coming home in 18th, 16 laps down. Nate Seefiger, 19th. So your points leader not having the night he was hoping for. Will Fletcher hanging on for 20th. Jose Viguera in 21st. 22nd goes to Nicholas Vassinimer. 23rd goes to Jackson Bell. Michael Bourne in 24th. Joe Morganti, 25th. Shane Leverage in 26th. And again, thank you very much to Chris Walker for being in race control tonight.
Yep, absolutely, and did a very, very good job in race control tonight here for Sim Racers Edge. We will be taking a well-deserved break, I think. Coming up tomorrow night, no action here on ESPN, but coming up on Friday will be the Circle B Diecast Super Speedway Series. They will be entering the 3rd race of their 7-race playoffs, the final race of the round of 16 for them. Sam Cooper Bennett and Byron Rodney will be in the booth for that, starting at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Coming up on Saturday afternoon, it will be the eFormula 3.5 Series, round 5 of their season. From Monza, that'll be a 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time start. Sam Cooper Bennett and I will be in the booth for that race. Sam and Byron the next 2 days. On Sunday will be the Medieval Racing League from Martinsville. That will be at 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time. And then on Monday at 8:20, it'll be the Rowdy Energy Cup Series season. They will be heading for the first time to the Circuit of the Americas, COTA, in Austin, Texas, for their second road course, of the season. So for my broadcast partner, Tony Trapasso, I am Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's race as much as we did up here. We will see you in 2 weeks' time for the second to last race of the season here for Sim Racers Edge at the Milwaukee Mile, and we will also see you here on Friday night for the Circle B Diecast Super Speedway Series playoff race from Daytona. Have a fantastic evening, everyone.